Town Council meeting. If you'll please rise and join us in the pledge. And we'd like to have Life Scout Anthony Milani and Rohan Srinivasan to lead us, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thanks, John.
Thank you. We're spread out tonight. We're spread out tonight.
All right. Oh, thank you. This evening, yeah, did you put it on?
No, he's good.
Okay. This evening, Councilor Peter Albert is going to be joining us via the phone here. And so, Peter, can you hear us?
I can hear you loud and clear, Mr. Chairman.
Can he be heard out there? Okay. Peter, you have to, pardon? Okay. All right. That should do it. That's the next. All right, Peter, you have to let us know who's joining you there at this meeting and where you are. Well, I can tell you, Peter is not able to attend because he's actually on vacation, and we have to notify the public of that. And you are with who at this point?
I am by myself at this point.
Okay, very good. All right. Thank you, Peter. Everything has to be by roll call vote this evening because of this right here. Okay, announcements. Let me give you these announcements first. The next, on May 24th, there will be a regular council meeting at 7 p.m. here in the Matthew Thornton Room. Friday, May 25th, from 9 a.m. until 4 p.m. at Buckley's Great Steaks, located at 438 DW Highway. The council will be having a retreat work session for that day. Thursday, June 14th at 7 p.m. is another regular meeting, and Thursday, June 28th, a regular meeting, both at 7 p.m. here in the Matthew Thornton Room. Now, Eileen, did you have anything?
Yes. The transfer station, wastewater treatment facility, highway garage, and highway maintenance will be closed on Wednesday, May 23rd for employee training. Thank you.
Thank you. As PFO update, I mean, did you have anything on that?
Just very briefly, we were made aware of correspondence by one of our citizens. Gail Shaw wrote a letter to Deputy Commissioner for Environmental Services Clark Frizey, asking that specific groundwater testing be conducted at Watson Park, and I support what Mrs. Shaw is asking for the state to do, and Eileen responded back in an email to Deputy Commissioner Frizey asking that that DES take action and consider such an endeavor. So we're currently waiting on a response from DES to that. So as soon as we find out, I expect we'll be communicating back to the public and to the rest of the council.
Thanks, Bill.
Okay. Thank you.
All right, the highway garage update. There's not much to offer except the council and the Highway Facility Committee broke ground on the project this past Saturday, May 5th. This week, the site contractor mobilized their equipment to begin work on the project. The Public Works Department will be taking progress photos of the work, which can be found on their Facebook page at facebook.com/MerrimackDPW. Paul, do you have anything else on that, or you all? Thank you, sir. All right, next item on the agenda, comments from the press and public. If you'd like to address the council, you could either sit here or use the mic over on the side here. Hi, Wendy.
No, yeah, there, now it's on. Okay, Wendy Thomas, 10 Wildcat Falls Road, just giving you an update on our private well situation. We recently replaced our water tank, which just seems to be coincidental. I don't think it has anything to do with the contamination in the water. But what's significant about that is that because we replaced it, we were able to get samples of the sludge that sits at the bottom of tanks. So this is going to be a sample that has been sitting for years in our water tank. So we're going to have it tested for PFOAs, and that's going to give us some interesting statistics. Where we have the filtration system in our basement, it's not installed because we're having difficulty finding a plumber who has the knowledge and expertise to install such a system. We're still looking, we're trying to get it. So for now, we're still drinking bottled water. We go through about 25 gallons of bottled water a week. And so I'm just telling you, it's not easy. It's not easy. It's not without expense. And the bottom line is all I'm trying to do is make sure that my family has water that is not contaminated with man-made chemicals. It's not asking a lot, but that's what my goal is. So, thank you.
Thank you, Wendy.
Thank you.
Is there anybody further who would like to address the council? Seeing none, we're going to move on to recognitions. This evening, we have a plaque for Digital Federal Credit Union, who has regularly been very gracious in helping our public safety departments. And so if you would mind join us up here. We've been quite the beneficiary of some good work from Digital Credit.
Gotta get closer to the mic.
Sorry. So we appreciate everything you've done for the town over the years here, and we'd like to give this to you in appreciation for your generosity.
Still can't hear you, Finn.
In appreciation for, it's on. Okay, in appreciation for your generosity and continued support of the Merrimack Fire and Police Departments given by the Town Council on May 10th, 2018.
Awesome.
And if you would like to speak to everybody,
Sure thing. DCU is pleased to support our community any way we can, and it's the least we can do.
very kind of you. We definitely appreciate it. Appointments. This evening, we have Robert Best and Nelson and Alistair and a number of people from the planning board, and the council is per town charter article 6 section 6, at least annually there should be a review with the planning board. This agenda item is to highlight the board's significant actions, current projects, and anticipated actions, and to raise any concerns the council should know about or act upon. Good evening.
Now you know how your applicants feel when they bring something to the planning board.
You had suggested it. I will. Actually, Robert, it has been suggested that I move, if you could give me just a moment, move the appointment to fill the vacancy forward, so that
You can still sit there.
I didn't.
You might get appointed, but.
Tom had suggested it, but I thought we were going to put it off. But if we could do that.
Yes, of course. It's your agenda. Thank you.
Okay. This evening, we're going, number one, on new business, we're going to move that forward right now, and we will be deliberating and electing an individual to fill the vacancy created when Jackie Flood had to step down. This position will be active until April 2019. What I'd like to do is...
Point of order, Mr. Chairman, do we have the three candidates here tonight?
Actually, no, and that's what I was getting ready to get to. Two candidates aren't here. Jason Kimball has made it this evening, and we have two pieces to be read into the record from the other two candidates.
Further point of order, we do not have the presence of Council Harrington here as well. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay. I don't feel comfortable acting on this without having the full membership here present. The fact that two of the other candidates that have applied for this position are also not here as well, I don't want that to reflect poorly on them as well, based on their presence or lack thereof, based on a decision. I'd like to know whether or not, if we could table this to a date certain, specifically March 24th, which would allow full membership of the town council. May 24th, excuse me. Thank you, Council Koenig. I apologize.
I'm not sure, I wish you told me this earlier, because I'm not sure that we have time, because you have to appoint somebody, I believe it's 21 days
The
after.
charter says we have to take action, doesn't necessarily say what that action is. So I'm suggesting that by taking action, by table would be fulfilling the spirit of the charter.
Mr. Chair, when I get a moment,
Yes, Peter.
I disagree with Councilor Boyd. I think we should, there's 6 of us present tonight, and I think we should move forward on this, and let's get this council whole at this time.
Thank you. The only one missing right now is Nancy.
So there's 5 of us present.
Right.
I would make a motion to table this to a date certain to May 24th.
Okay. Is there a second required for tabling? No.
Yes.
Then all those in favor of tabling until May 24th, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
Peter?
Nay.
We
We'll
have to
be
do
doing this by roll call.
Sorry.
Roll call, because
We'll have roll call on the table. Council Boyd?
Nay.
Nay.
Tom?
nay.
And I'm nay.
And
So
Peter?
And Peter?
Nay.
Okay, thank you. All right, then what we'll do is, I'm gonna have Jason, if you'd like to come up and speak to, the audience and tell them about yourself and your desires to be on the council tonight.
It's good pack. I was there. My name is Jason Kimball. I was born and raised in this town. I've been here all my life for 43 years. This town's my home. It means everything to me. I already have a plot already across the street for me. I believe in democracy a lot. The founding fathers got it right. I ran for council against 3 incumbents, and they were pretty big name incumbents to try to beat, and I did pretty good with 1,129 votes. That's a lot of votes for a guy that ran the first time. I was the only one that ran against these people. I would like this seat because I care about my town. I care about my home. I want to make sure I have a home in the future. I worked for the town of Merrimack for 17 years. There's not a day that doesn't go by that I don't miss those orange trucks that go by. So another way I can serve my community is by sitting on the council, serving this community, making sure that younger generations that is born and raised here will have a place, have a home. There's not too many towns out there that does what Merrimack does for their residents. A nice 4th of July parade, a nice carnival at the end, fireworks. We are on top on that stuff. We have Christmas parades. We're there. There's not too many towns that does that. We got Memorial Park on Fraser Square. We used to decorate the tree down there. I would love to see that decorated all up again. I would just love to sit in that chair and look out and work with the taxpayers of this town, work with the fellow councils, members on this board. I understand it's just to fill the seat, a vacant seat to 2019, and I can always rerun. I do believe in democracy. I got a lot of phone calls, a lot, and I do believe eventually that might affect some people running down the future that want to run. They may not get the votes that they want. I mean, I took got a lot of information from people. I just, you got to do it, you got to do it, and I was planning on doing it. To send a resume in and do all that. But I got a lot of support behind me, and they appreciated that. I was just a small town guy from Merrimack. I worked for Merrimack. I did a lot of dangerous jobs for Merrimack because we had to keep the roads open. And some things we should never have done, but that's a different story. But we had to. We had to. So it has to get done. And I was willing always to take those risks. Better than me than any of my fellow crew members, because this is my home. I care about it. I care a lot about this town. I care where it's going, where it came from. Like I said, I can show you the lost and found spots in town on both sides of the river at Sahegan River at Turkey Hill Bridge. And they're coming up real close to one of them at the new highway garage. It'd be a nice time while they're there to we can clean it up and put a sign up and say this is where the lost and found was for livestock. And, it's history. The people that were in this town before me, they built it. It should be known when you drive by it. This is where you found an animal. This is where you put the animal. And eventually, a farmer will come by and pick his animal back up. And Depot Street. I was one of the only guys that actually ever saw the foundation for the depot station down there. It was one of it's no longer, the foundation is no longer there. We took it out, but it was all hand cut. It was neat to see all hand cut, carved rocks from our forefathers that was in this town that built it. It was a neat project. See how it's done. And some of those granite post blocks, actually, if you go down to the boat launch, you can see them in the river that I helped put in on 9/11. That's just my sugar alarm. Nothing to worry about. I care a lot about this town. I don't. It's in my blood. I was born and raised here. I don't know how else to explain it. I don't know how many of you guys are, when you guys came into this town. I was here. I'm coming. I'm already retired. I'm gonna be over there, across from this building one of these days. Hopefully in 90 years, but this, I got good ideas that I can bring to the board, help the board out, and I believe there's some things that this town, we can do good. We got a lot of roofs in this town. I think we can talk to some of our state reps, maybe try to get some solar panels on some of them and try to cut our electricity costs down. Because we have a lot of roofs, a lot of flat roofs. It's a lot of territory.
Yeah, it is.
And solar panel would be a good way to run those meters backwards. Maybe it'll help our electrical costs. Hey, it's an idea. You know, if we can get the grants and stuff to do that, that'd be nice. I mean, just one of the ideas that I was running, I was telling people about. It's amazing how many flat roofs we have, and it's all open space.
Right. No, very good.
But I would love to have that seat. I mean, I do got backing of a lot of people. They've been calling.
Great.
And when you think of Merrimack, I think of me. I'm the average Merrimack person.
Yep.
Yeah, I grew up, I was on the wrestling team, all that.
Oh, very good.
Your wife taught me in our gym class.
Yep, yep. A couple of years ago.
Yeah, your mother-in-law was my favorite babysitter.
Yeah. Well, excellent, Jason.
But I would just like to be on the board. I think I would do a good job on it. And just, finish out that year and run again. And let the taxpayers vote and let them make a decision. See if I did a good job or not. Let them be the judge.
Great. Thank you, Jason. I appreciate that.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay. The other two applicants for this position weren't able to be here this evening, so they asked to have their statement read into the record. So the first one I'll read is from Rosemary Rung. She says, I appreciate the opportunity to be considered for the open position on the Merrimack Town Council and thank the council for allowing this statement to be shared with you and the public since I'm unavailable to be there in person. My family and I have had the good fortune of calling Merrimack our home for nearly 35 years. It has been a pleasure for me to spend most of those years in community service, from volunteering in schools, assisting at elections, working on various nonprofit boards and town committees, to serving on the school board. However, I've never been on the town council or its predecessor, the Board of Selectmen. The combination of bringing a new perspective to this body, coupled with my experience, would offer unique advantages, in my opinion, particularly this year as the council faces growth in infrastructure with the turnpike widening, the concerns over PFOA contamination, contract negotiations, among others. On a personal note, it would be an honor and privilege to complete Jackie Flood's term of office, as her grace, dedication, and countless contributions to Merrimack are a deep source of inspiration not only to me, but also to many others who call Merrimack home. Thank you again for your consideration. And then the next one I will read is from Barbara Healy. She says, first and foremost, I would like to personally thank each town council member for their time, consideration, and effort spent to appoint a new town councilor to replace Councilor Flood. I apologize for not being here this evening. My husband and I are away on a trip that could not be canceled. Due to the unanticipated nature of the vacancy, I thank the council for allowing me to submit these comments in my absence. Although I was not born and raised in Merrimack, my husband and I purchased our home nearly 8 years ago, and our family has been living in town since then. In all the places our family has lived, we are impressed with the sense of community and citizen participation that we see exhibited here in Merrimack. I would like to be able to participate and give back to our town as well by serving as a town councilor. I am retired but have served in management positions throughout my career. I earned a Bachelor of Science degree in nursing at Southeastern Massachusetts University, now known as UMass Dartmouth. I served as a major in the United States Army Nurse Corps, both on active duty and in the individual ready reserves. I feel that my prior work experience has provided me with skills that could benefit the town In addition to being an RN, my experience includes diverse skills such as budget creation and management, project management, personnel management, training development, policy and guideline creation, IT business application design, and application production support. I have also helped establish recycling programs in 2 towns where we resided by assisting in organizational meetings and with educational materials. Our town is blessed to have a town council with members that truly care about the town of Merrimack. Our council has faced many challenges during the past year, and some of these will continue as challenges in the near future. The purity of our drinking water will continue as an issue. Criminal activity involving drugs and the resulting drug overdoses will continue to be a challenge for our police and emergency medical personnel. Growth of the town continues as new homes, apartment buildings, and hotels are built and new businesses are created, which will consume our municipal resources. The residents of Merrimack will need a town council that works for them as it has in the past, one that is making positive changes in our town, not just for today, but for the future of Merrimack and its children. The decisions made by the council should continue to be sound decisions that make beneficial and fiscally responsible changes to our wonderful town. To be done well, it involves research, communication, patience, attention to detail, and of course, the consideration of any consequences of these decisions to the town and its people. I believe being a town council member means working collaboratively with residents, town staff, and of course, fellow council members to resolve the issues and challenges that Merrimack will face. I'm a person that is passionate about our town and truly cares about the people that live here. Of course, I live here as well. I understand some of the frustrations of my neighbors because I face the same problems and issues they do every day. I want to take an active role in working on issues that trouble our citizens as well as be involved with planning for today and the future. I would welcome the opportunity to serve the town of Merrimack as a town council member and serve on any committees that could use my guidance and expertise. As many of the committees deal with the new and unfamiliar topics, I look forward to new learning opportunities. If the decision is made that I am not awarded a seat on the town council, I look forward to working with you in the future in my newly elected position on the Ethics Committee. Thank you for your time and consideration. Respectfully submitted, Barbara Healy. Okay. We had our interviews a couple of weeks ago, and it was nice to be able to have those opportunities to meet with these 3 individuals, and they all have a lot to bring to the table. So this evening, I don't know if anybody would have any comments. What I'm planning on doing is, after any thoughts are put on the table, when that's all completed, we will start and go one by one for the person that we would like to see fill the vacated seat. So, Councilor Boyd.
Just a comment for the interview process, and obviously the letters. I think I can't speak for everybody here, but I was very impressed with the depth and the breadth of the experience the candidates brought to the position. Certainly, I think we could easily say that nobody, at least from where I sit, nobody didn't bring any experience. I think different walks of life, the cultural perspectives, for 2 of the candidates living in town for a longer period of time as opposed to the 3rd candidate from the short period of time, I think you really get some insights that you might not have previously considered. So I really felt that the individuals were tremendously forthcoming. I think they present themselves extremely well and have a lot to give to the town of Merrimack. And I hope that at the end of the night, once we've deliberated and reached a decision, that whoever was not asked to join the council would consider volunteering for some of the open vacancies that we have here in town, because I certainly would not want to lose the enthusiasm and obviously that experience and willingness to serve and give back to our community.
Thank you, Bill.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Tom? Caleb?
I certainly have to agree with you, Bill. I thought we had an excellent opportunity to chat with 3 people that had a lot to offer, a lot to bring. It puts us in a very difficult position to try and decide one that we would bring forward on the council, and it's going to be an interesting result overall. I think we had some very fine candidates with very good ideas and very, very sincere interest in the town of Merrimack, and so we just have to move forward from there. I was I was particularly impressed with Barbara's attitude and her approach, being a short-termer or shorter term than the others. She's learned a lot about the community she's moved into. She's interested in helping that community. She's got a breadth of experience outside of the community that I kind of like the idea of them coming forward to. So I see where the rest of the council feels, but we'll go forward with whatever we choose.
Tom, do you have any thoughts?
Yeah, I know. I didn't see the two of the candidates. I saw Barbara, but I listened to Jason tonight. Thank you for that. But yeah, I agree with the other two councilmen. I mean, there's a lot of passion, and I think passion and heart is what we need on this council. And you need new ideas. I brought new ideas when I came to this. These guys all looked at me with three different heads because I came and just did some crazy things, and I still will, and you guys will see that. But it keeps us. I mean, we're a great board. It's refreshing, and we don't want to be always voting with each other because then that's just doesn't really make that good of a board when we all have the same idea. So I look forward to further our discussion on this and deliberate on it, but it's going to be a tough decision. I know that.
Thanks, Tom. Peter, did you have anything you'd like to offer?
Yes, Mr. Chair, thank you. I guess I reiterate all my fellow councilors, and I thank all three candidates for stepping forward. Out of 30,000 people or 27,000 people in this town and 18,000 registered voters, these three folks stepped up and volunteered to fill the position, so I thank them. And I think they're all good candidates, and this is not an easy decision.
Thank you, Peter. All right. Is there anything further? Then, Tom, I'm going to start with, actually, let me start with Peter so I can get that out of the way because I'll forget him otherwise, and then we'll go down there. Peter, who would you like to see fill the vacated seat?
I'm going to cast my vote for Rosemarie Rung. Did you hear that?
I did. Thank you, Peter. I'm making notes.
Barbara Healy.
And Tom Koenig.
Barbara Healy.
And Bill.
Barbara Healy.
And I as well choose Barbara Healy. All right. I want to thank everybody for for the input that you've done, and as Bill had suggested, I'd like to see you, Jason and Rosemarie, and continue to participate. I'd like to see you come back, and we'll notify Barbara, and she'll be sworn in when she gets back.
You should make a formal motion to appoint Barbara Healy as the next town council.
Mr. Chairman, I move that the town council be authorized unanimously to invite Barbara Healy as an appointed, to fulfill the seat of Jackie Flood here on the town council.
I'll second.
Motion by Councilor Boyd, seconded by Councilor Thornton. Any further discussion? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those roll call. Councilor Boyd.
Aye.
Peter.
Aye.
Aye.
Tom. And
Aye.
Tom Thornton. And I am aye. It's a unanimous roll call vote. I am aye.
That was good, Finley.
All right. The rust will wear off eventually, I pray.
Just a point of order. Jason, thank you very much for putting your name in and coming forward and talking to us. We really appreciated the opportunity to speak with you specifically. Appreciate the opportunity of Rosemarie coming as well, and thank you both for your offered service, and we would hope that you would continue to be interested in and support us and help us out in any way you can, any of our various boards or future council seats or any of those kinds of things. But thank you very much.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you, John. I already lost one classmate who doesn't want to get up into this town. He was born and raised with his grandparents here.
All right, well, we appreciate you being here.
Thank you for having me. We'll see you maybe next year.
That would be good.
I honestly don't feel welcome anymore in this town.
Well, no, that's not the case, but.
Sorry you feel that way. You shouldn't feel that way.
we'll chat soon.
Hey, you went through the process. I expect that. Respect the process that you went through. I do.
Thank you, Jason.
Thank you, Jason.
We'll see what brings next year.
Yep, no, very good.
Sounds good.
I was in his patch, so get his idea how it's going.
Family?
Yep.
And get the other one going too. They both got good ideas.
Okay. Peter, are you ready to depart, or are you going to let me know at what point you have to leave? It's up to you.
Yeah, I'll let you know. I'm fine right now, and thank you, but I will. I'd like to remain in the meeting.
Okay. All right, very good. Now,
Back to the
Nelson, we're going to come back if you could join us again. And, I'm sorry, Bob Best. What, that was a bad habit, wasn't it? After only about 40 years. Look at that.
For real this time, or we?
It's real this time. I appreciate it, and I apologize.
No need to apologize. That was important business to take care of, so.
It's the worst thing I ever do.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't enjoy it at all. It's
So-
tough, but welcome.
Tough decisions. It's one of the reasons why I'm thankful for the things that you do, and I'm grateful for having you guys willing to do it.
Wow.
So, for the record, I'm Bob Best, Chairman of the Planning Board. With me is Alistair Milnes, the co-chair, vice chair of the Planning Board. And this is our annual review. And so normally with our annual review, I do a quick kind of a summary of some of the statistics that we've done with how many meetings and things like that. And that's probably fairly boring, dry stuff. And it's also published in the annual report that we put together from January through December, and it gets published. So unless you really have an interest in some of those statistics, I'll kind of pass over that bit. We did welcome 2 new members to the Planning Board, and Dan Ricker and Neil Enketel. Of course, you know that because you made those appointments. That also means that we had to say goodbye to a couple of friends with Paul McLaughlin and Desiree Fault, who Desiree for a little longer than Paul, but both really good board members and really good people. Hopefully, Desiree will find her way back to Merrimack, and Paul will have a change in jobs that lets him rejoin our board or some other things in town. But I'm thankful for both of them. I'm also thankful for the 2 new folks who stepped up, who I think are both going to be really good board members, in Dan and Neil. So some of the interesting projects that we always like to mention, within the last 12 months since I've seen you last, we did have the opportunity to vote on the approval of the redevelopment of the oldest Shaw's site, the one in the middle of town, and I think that's scheduled now to open in June with Planet Fitness and a couple of other tenants there that are going to be exciting to see some development there. Student Transportation of America relocated their bus terminal to a construction site that you see up behind Zyla's over there, or old Zyla's, now Vault. We've had countless small subdivisions on Wilson Hill Road, on Watkins Road, with 12 lots and 14 lots here and there. We've got an elderly housing development that's under consideration by the board on East Chamberlain Road for 47 units. We had the big apartment complex at Exit 11 with 280 apartments come before the board. We had the review of what's called Merrimack Parcel A, which is the thing at the foot of the hill at the outlet mall, where they're going to have some apartments and hotel and retail and commercial space, a total of 372,800 square feet built over there. Neighbor Works is another project for 50-odd homes on the other side of Daniel Webster Highway. And that was one that was originally proposed to be elderly housing, and now they're talking about family housing there, and the board will take that up. So a lot of things going on in town, and a lot of things housing related. I think that it's very interesting to see what the demand is for all of these subdivisions and all these developments for housing, because when you involve yourself in some of the regional planning efforts, the one thing that's sort of all the planning world screams out loud is New Hampshire is 10,000 housing units short of what's needed. And that there's this enormous demand for housing. And there's been quite a few approved in past years, plus quite a few this year. And I think that it's interesting to be a part of a town that's on the move for trying to solve some of the need for housing that's out there. I can answer any questions that you have about that. But what I really wanted to talk about tonight was a follow-up on the main topic we talked about last time, which was sidewalks and a town-wide pedestrian and bicycle master plan. When we came here last year, you guys gave us permission to access some services from National Regional Planning Commission to begin the process of making that sidewalk and bicycle master plan. And that's what we brought here on the easel with some of the work that the National Regional Planning Commission did. You may have seen this map before. We had it at all the voting places at the last election. To give you a highlight of what some of the details are, what they did was inventory where the sidewalks are today and where the roads are better or worse, more or less suitable for bicycle traffic along DW Highway. After they surveyed what we have, there were a few suggestions that they could make for very small changes that would make a big difference, like a crosswalk in one place and a crosswalk in another place, which are, may ultimately end up being part of a plan, but is a real small improvement that would make some differences. The two boxes on the right-hand margin there, I think, are also very interesting to know what they are and what the process was for those. The upper one relates to sidewalks and the lower one to bicycles, but they have a methodology for examining the speed that the cars go, the distance that people are from the traffic, the width of the road, what's around there, to estimate the level of stress that a walker or a bike rider would experience if they were on that road. And we've got some areas in the middle of town where you get green, which is obviously going to be in any of these ranking systems, nice cool green colors are better than the oranges and the reds. But we do have a lot of areas where it is a little stressful for walking and even more stressful for riding, where they talk about, the road is suitable for the most confident and serious enthusiast riders, but not too many areas where bicycling is appropriate for younger kids or people with less confidence. So this is kind of step one in the process, and what we did is take this map and with Nelson's work developed a very short survey to kind of ask people what they thought of this and what suggestions they may have for where we would build some new things or where we would propose some new things in the next phase of a plan. Of course, Planning Board doesn't build any of this stuff. We just create the plan for what the priorities are, where the need might be in case there's an opportunity to do some things. So that's what that map is, and I can tell you from the survey, we took it to the polling places, and we had them set up at all 3 polling places. And I manned one of them, and we got a count of the number of people that filled out surveys, and it was 239 surveys were filled out of the 3,000 people who voted. And only 23 of them indicated that they didn't favor the idea of sidewalks or bikes. Now, it's not exactly the scientific survey because you've got a limited number of people that show up at a poll and then the ones that want to answer a survey and things like that. But we've never before had over 200, almost 250 people weigh in on this with some specifics about what they thought and locations. So Nelson has taken a step further and kind of analyzed those results and compiled them. I didn't bring them to share yet because the Planning Board hasn't seen them yet. And I kind of, my allegiance to them says let them have a look at it first. And we want to hear from National Regional Planning Commission who's looking at the data. But I understand from talking to Paul that you guys have a retreat coming up and you want to have this as a subject to talk about. So we'll make sure that the Planning Board gets that information to you with some of the specifics about what people thought on yes and no questions, but also on specific locations around town where people said, boy, I would like to see some development here or there, or maybe some people would say, I don't want to see any at all, or whatever those results are. Get those to you. So I wanted to share with you what the outcome was of the project that we started here last year when we came before you. And that is my 5 minutes up. Is that it? Did I use 6? 6 minutes. So if you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer those with you. I don't know if Alistair has anything that he wants to add to what I've presented.
So the only questions I had were the questions you can't answer. Which is survey questions.
Oh, what do people say? Well, we did bring copies of the survey. We could pass those out so that you guys.
Did you choose? Oh, I would have hoped you'd all.
I filled out the survey.
You did all fill them out. Do you want a copy of?
Yeah, pass around so you can see what the questions are that we were asked, and then once you have the answers, you'll know what those are about.
Tom knew. Sorry, he helped me.
I have to admit a little bit of embarrassment in that the 2 polling places that were mostly unmanned used up all their surveys, and the one where I was, and I was trying to get people to fill out surveys, collected the least.
And perhaps interestingly, the southern side of town, which is the St. John Newman's survey area, got the most votes.
Yeah, they filled in the most surveys.
I should
Most
say.
surveys, yeah.
The survey is also posted on the town's website through the Community Development Department if people wanted to continue to do that and to mail them in. There were some people that took them and indicated that they might be interested in mailing them in later. It's not a closed process where we're not going to listen to any more input or any of that kind of thing. We had talked as a planning board about hosting meetings and doing those kinds of things that we've done in the past, and sort of express general frustration that we go through the effort of doing those things and have a kind of a disappointing turnout. So we were trying to think of new ways to get more input, and boy, I was really pleased with the idea of hearing from a couple hundred people rather than 7 planning board members and 3 others. So.
No, very good. Does anybody have any questions or thoughts, comments?
I suspect that the process will lead to something
Sorry, Peter,
more of a...
hold on just a moment, I'm
Oh,
sorry.
go ahead. I suspect the process will lead to something more of a proposal for a townwide plan for this that will help us kind of get on the right track with what we've been doing sidewalk-wise. So.
It would be good, that way we can see what the necessities might be, and as time goes on, maybe chip away.
Very good. The map is here, and it's always in Town Hall, so you guys can check it out
Yep,
anytime.
great. Peter?
Okay, thank you. To Bob and the rest of the board, first of all, thank you for all your hard work. And one thing that I'm always approached on is the residential properties that are being proposed to be built. Does the planning board feel that these are more of a tax, will they be tax contributors or a tax drain? And I know that's kind of a general question, but it seems to be what's on people's mind are, you know, they see a lot of these apartments and everything else, and they see those as becoming a tax drain as opposed to contributing to our town in that manner.
Sure. I can do my best to answer that. And on some of the properties in the developments, there's actually an analysis that the applicant has to do, and it's tested by peer review to prove that they are a net benefit in terms of the tax revenue that would come from them. And they do the calculation not just based on what the tax revenue that's coming in is going to be, but they estimate what the expenses for the utilization of services would be. And that changes based on whether it's elderly housing or whether it's family housing, and whether it's studio apartments and 1-bedroom apartments or 2 or 3-bedroom apartments. One of the key pieces to that puzzle is always how many kids are going to be in a development. And
What was that, Peter?
I didn't say anything.
Oh, okay.
All right.
How many kids are going to be in the development? And there's some really good, reliable research that predicts based on freestanding housing, multi-unit housing, like duplexes versus apartment complexes that are 1, 2, or 3-bedroom, mobile home parks. They analyze all the different various kinds of housing. And so the results are that the financial analysis ends up being pretty darn accurate in terms of the number of kids that are produced. And it ends up with apartments, with 1 or 2-bedroom apartments. It's a really small number of kids that end up in a community. And I think, for example, the 280-unit community that's going to be by Exit 11, I think they're talking about something like 20 kids in a community like that. And I think that the general public looks at that and says, well, there's 280 apartments, there'll be at least 100 kids. And statistics don't bear that out. So you got these analysis by several of the big ones. And there was an analysis with the 280-unit one. There was an analysis with Flatley. There was an analysis with the Chestnut Hill one. Not Chestnut Hill. What's the name of the one on the south side of town?
East Harris Pond?
Harris Pond.
It's across from Harris Pond, but yeah, it's not called that.
Oh, the adjacent
North
to
of it.
Nashua or Nana,
Yes.
in Nanacon.
That one.
Yeah.
They did an analysis. Now, the smaller ones, the 14-lot residential subdivision for single-family housing, they aren't required to do an analysis. The same data can be applied to them, though, and you know when you add 14 houses, you'll probably have 2 kids. It's not a huge number that gets added for those. A lot of those, though, one of the things that we seem to see is that there's some kind of logjam in the process of getting them constructed, because there's an awful lot that have been approved and very few that have shovels in the ground getting going. So,
Very good. I think the homes that would be built today would generally cover their, they're not the lower valued homes. They tend to be more valuable because the cost of the property is that much more.
That's very true. And for example, so there's a subdivision in town that's 70 odd homes in it, and it's probably got about a mile of internal streets that have to be built, and some internal septics and things like that. And when they put that kind of infrastructure in there, they're not going to follow that up with building low dollar housing. Those are going to be some higher end units, and the tax dollars will be commensurate with that.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Eileen.
I have an observation and a question. So first for the question, have you, the planning board, heard the presentation on the Sauhegan River Trail challenges that we have?
I have not.
You have not, okay. They're a challenge and they're not. I don't want to give away the punchline, but basically what it is we're going to have to combine both TAP grants together, because the cost of the first one has escalated to such a degree that it would cost a significant amount more.
Okay.
The town would basically have to pick up 100% of everything above the original estimate. So Kyle will be coming before you to give that presentation.
Okay, I'll look
Okay.
forward to it and
Yeah.
be in touch with Kyle.
Okay.
So, thank you.
It was very good work on his part to be able to combine the two, because otherwise we may not have been able to afford to do the first one. So it was good that we were able to do that. So from a philosophical point of view, I think that communities for a long time have been considering tax burden and how many children and all that kind of thing. While at the same time, there's been so much out there about how much older our communities are getting. And so at some point, I think that the reverse needs to start being thought of, as we need to attract a younger generation in order because you need a balance of everything in order to have a vibrant community. So that's just my opinion.
That's an excellent comment. There is a body of analysis that looks at what's a healthy community, and you got to have a mix of young people and people that are a little bit deeper roots, and then people that are retiring in a community, so that you continue to be vibrant. You continue to have the next generation come up. And you don't end up in a place where nobody wants to be on the planning board anymore because everybody retired and there's no young people in town. But it also matters for recruiting businesses and jobs and things. Absolutely. So businesses need to have employees, and employees need to have someplace to live. And Merrimack's probably the only town within a stone's throw in any direction that could reasonably bring hundreds of housing units online in a short period of time, if a company was here and ready to hire the folks that could do that. I mean, south of Manchester, I don't think that there's another community that could do that. If you had an employer looking to hire 500 people or 1,000 people, and looking for where's the community where those people could live, I think we're uniquely positioned for that. If you don't have that, then you have the businesses saying, well, I've got to go around Boston, or I've got to go around where the people are, because there's no more room, there's no more houses for them to live in southern New Hampshire. So all of those puzzle pieces fit together.
Bill.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Bob, thanks for being here. Alistair, Nelson, good to see all of you. Just a very simple question. I serve as the planning board alternate, and I usually make my yearly sojourn to the planning board when Tom and his family goes away on vacation. That's due to the tremendous dedication and loyalty we have from Councilor Koenig. One of the that one time that I was there, it involved a site plan up off of Wilson Hill Road as it related to the impact of wells and using wells. And I also know that recently we finally got the Department of Transportation to come to Merrimack and actually synchronize the lights at Executive Park Drive, which has been the bane of the planning board's existence since I've been living in town. So I guess what I'm getting at is, moving forward, are there any technical pieces that you foresee regarding development in general in terms of projects being able to hook up to water, being able to have the appropriate synchronization of lights? What do you think is the big concern that Merrimack's going to be facing 3, 5, 10 years down the road from that particular perspective?
Sure. So from the planning board standpoint, when you deal with the water or the sewer generally has capacity. With the water, we challenge the applicants to go get us an answer from the MVD. And if the MVD gives them a green light, we don't have any authority to challenge that or any knowledge base that would allow us to. But there are some places like Wilson Hill where the water doesn't go there, and then you got to look at wells and what's available and those kinds of things. I haven't seen too many of those with the subdivisions. I think that if you see all of this housing come online, you're going to have a population jump in town, maybe about, I don't know, 2,000 or 3,000 people, 10%. And that's a big jump for a short period of time. What will that do for traffic and lights and things like that? We do our best to analyze them. And when we are looking at something like the development at Exit 11, we have them do some traffic studies and do some predictions, and they were actually responsible for getting the DOT to synchronize those lights. I don't know if they've been synchronized yet, but I think they're going to be. But one of the interesting things is if that was 5 miles down, Amherst Road for a 280-unit subdivision, assuming all the zoning would allow it, we wouldn't have necessarily tied that into that intersection and said you got to analyze the traffic at Exit 11. It's only because it was really proximate to it that it was even something that was on the planning board's viewpoint. So what does the population jump get you? Our schools have had larger numbers of enrollments in the past, but they also use their buildings in a different way year in and year out, so I don't know what impacts it'll have on them. We have that conversation with them whenever we see them for their capital review and have that discussion. I think that it's interesting to think about the balance of both the residential developments, and then that's your lead into commercial developments, which is your lead into jobs, which is your lead into tax base and economy, and all of these pieces fit together. And I don't want to tie everything back to sidewalks, but that's one of the pieces that fits in that puzzle too. It's a part of that puzzle. So thinking about it all comprehensively really is really kind of where we're at. And as far as feedback from the board and your consideration of candidates when we have them, and the occasions where we've had some change in our regulations or appointments to NRPC, the council seems to have been very supportive of the things that we've wanted to do, so I'm thankful for that.
Could I add one comment? That, Mr. Chairman, that is part of the Exit 11 project. I think I don't know if everybody knows, but in fact they're not just synchronizing the lights, they're putting in a system which has never been used in New Hampshire before, but it's used in Massachusetts, whereby the changing of the lights is controlled by the amount of traffic going through, and that not the age-old system, it just gives you so many minutes. It actually is going to measure the traffic, and as traffic builds up, it'll change the lights in sequence and better control. And I did actually go and see an example of it in Massachusetts, and it was, in fact, it appeared to work very much better. Of course, I make no bones, as those of you who know me for the last 10 years, I'm not a lover of lights. I still say that if you want to move traffic faster, you forget some of the lights. I mean, I think we have too many traffic lights in Merrimack, but I'm certainly hopeful that the ones at Exit 11 with this system will actually allow them to function nearly as well as a roundabout will.
Thanks, Alistair.
I was going to make the joking reference to the roundabouts, but he beat me to the punch.
You to it. Hey, Alistair's comments brought something else to mind that I wanted to tell you about. The planning board did on that project at Exit 11. I thought it was really creative, and I'm proud that we did it. So we always get traffic studies, and we have some engineers that come and they tell us that they've got a book that tells them how the cars are going to flow and how many people are going to come, and we always analyze that and we have it peer reviewed, but I always hold a little level of skepticism for that because you're predicting the future. And I think other members of the planning board and certainly members of the public are always kind of surprised at these numbers that are put forward to say, oh, there'll be 60 cars per hour or something like that. In this case, we set them out to go find a comparable development with one entrance and count cars. and go find something that's actually built in real life that's for the same number of bedrooms, the same number of people, the same number of cars, the same age group of people that's their target market, and go count their cars and prove to me that your analysis is actually accurate. And they went and did it. It proved that their numbers were not only accurate but conservative, and it allowed us to really rely on the data that we were getting. And I think that that's a real comfort, because you accept what applicants tell you sometimes, and you're kind of like, what do you do if it turns out to be not what the applicant predicted or thought? I mean, there's nothing you can do except for have a problem. So anyway, that's my 2 cents. I don't mind answering more questions, but I have one more comment when we're done with questions.
Bill?
Sitting behind you is former Councilor Tim Tenhaven, and I was very thrilled that the Planning Board offered Tim's name to serve on the NRPC, and I certainly look forward to serving with him. During my tenure on the NRPC, there have been 2 individuals that could not make the 4 meetings a year commitment to the NRPC, which I don't approve. The NRPC has taken on, as a result of the growth, they are taking on an increasing importance, not just as it relates to Merrimack and Merrimack's role in the region, which is becoming very significant as an economic linchpin, but also being a part of the larger question regarding the impacts that our community may have, along with Nashua, with some of the more smaller communities in the NRPC. When considering vacancies in the future, please nail them to 4 meetings a year. It's embarrassing for myself to be, and my other colleague Karen Elmer, who's the assistant planner over in Bedford, to be in the second largest community in the NRPC, where we have 5 representatives on the NRPC that we can only field 2. And I pontificated about it when supporting Tim's nomination 2 weeks ago, and I certainly want to amplify those comments again to both you and Alice there, that when that vacancy comes up, that you do give credibility to somebody who's willing to give this community 4 meetings. It's 7 to 8:30 on a Wednesday night. They provide coffee and cookies. It's not a bad, it's not a bad meeting. Get a chance to network and meet some new people, maybe learn something. But I just want to amplify that point, that in your deliberations, that when candidates present, that you do tell them that it's 4 meetings a year.
That's a great point. I don't think that we've actually mentioned 4 meetings a year to the candidates, but
just
we will.
one thing, Bob. Can you, Councilor Boyd, what is NRPC?
National Regional
Thank you.
Planning Commission. Thank you, Councilor Thornton, for the clarification.
So thank you for that, Bill, though. I'm going to take that to heart and make sure that I do that from here on out. That's great advice.
I mean, I'm thrilled to have Councilor Tanave, always a councilor, even though it's a former. I'm thrilled to have Councilor Tanave there to participate, and it's good to have that kind of experience. So that's all I have, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Thanks, Bill. Does anybody have anything further?
So the only closing comment that I have is to talk about the support that we get from the town departments, and it's fantastic. Tim and his department is great. Kelly and Robert are great supports for the board. And Kyle and the fire department, the police department, we just get great support. You've got great people leading these departments. They deserve the pat on the back and the compliment whenever we can give it, and I'm thankful for them. I got none of them that I'm looking at complaining about or saying, everything's great except for that fellow over there. None of that. They're all great, and they all deserve that kind of compliment. So
Excellent.
Thank you for having them and picking them. You've done a great job staffing the town.
Excellent. We're glad to hear it. Peter, did you have anything?
Well, I wanted Bob touched upon something about the wastewater, and I wanted to just inquire, all these new projects, are we working to getting more people on, especially the new people onto our wastewater system, which, we have plenty of space for?
Yep. In most developments, they have been as a matter of coincidence, but in most cases they need to be if they're going to be higher density or some of those developments. So, for example, there's one, the Greenfield Farms one up on the north end of town, the Bedford line, actually had to pay to do a bunch of cross-country piping to be able to be on that system. The larger ones are already in the area where the sewer system is, so those guys are going to naturally be there. I don't think that some of the 14 lots on Wilson Hills and those guys necessarily are, but a lot of them are going into the system. We do have the capacity, and I don't know a whole great deal about how the septic and sewer department works, but I understand that when you have a system, you need to actually use your capacity in order to keep all of that stuff functional. Having capacity that's unused actually ends up degrading the equipment and the so.
Yep.
Great. Thanks, Bob.
Thank you.
Thanks, Peter.
Hey, I used more than 5 minutes, but it was all those questions that you guys kept asking.
You did a great job. Thank you for coming this evening, and
Thank
thanks
you.
for the
Glad to do it.
presentation, Bob.
Thanks, Bob.
We have no public hearings, legislative updates from state representatives or senators, and seeing none, town manager's report. I was gonna do that. I was gonna actually, when we got through you, there's no consent agenda. I was gonna move the boys up. Do you want me to do that now? All right, excellent. What we're gonna do is move item 2 and 3 up on the agendas. I was lectured, everybody hears this every time. I was lectured a number of years ago for keeping Boy Scouts here well after 9 o'clock one night, and it was a pure accident. I really didn't mean to do it. So,
And agony.
so item, and what?
And agony.
And agony, yes, they were. I feel terrible. What we're going to do first is hear from item number 2 is Life Scout Anthony Milani from Troop 272 is proposing to build a information kiosk at the entrance of Quarry Trail at Wasserman Park. And
Is your presentation already up?
Yeah.
oh, you are? Okay, well, so there was just number 2 on the agenda. Perfect. Okay, then what we're going to do is Life Scout Rohan Srinivasan. Thank you. I'm sorry, Rohan, for that. He, from Troop 424, is proposing a solar power lighting project on the park roads at Wasserman Park. And you'll be up momentarily to make that presentation. Good. We'll wait till this comes up for him. Ron, if you could sit here if you'd like, whatever you're comfortable with.
I actually have a couple handouts.
Okay.
Okay.
Here's my workbook.
I think this is what needs a signature, but I'm not sure. You got it? Can you turn one of those off, or is that okay? Okay. Whenever you're all set with this, welcome and thank you for joining us this evening.
All right. Good evening, everybody. My name is Rohan Srinivasan. My advisor is Mr. Galis. I'm from Troop 424, and this is my presentation about my Eagle Scout project. So we'll start off with a little bit about me. I'm currently a freshman in high school at Merrimack High School. I've gone to Merrimack School District my entire life. Some of the things I participate in are the band, Science Olympiad, the robotics team, and I'm currently a Life Scout in Troop 424.
What instrument do you play?
Saxophone.
Good for you. So stay at the trumpet player and the chairman, the trumpet player.
I joined Scouting in 2008 in Cub Scouts in Pack 424. I advanced to Boy Scouts in 2014 to Troop 424, and I've stuck with it ever since. I'm currently a Life Scout right now. So some of the stuff I've actually done in Boy Scouts, for the town and stuff you may have seen. I've led a couple camporees and Klondikes, which are some of our big events throughout the years. I've led the 4th of July parade, which I'm sure you've all seen. I have emceed for the Court of Honor, which is kind of our award ceremony, and I've been to a lot of the different camps. Some of the jobs I have within my troop are a den chief, patrol leader, and troop guide, and those kind of work with some of the other people in my troop and organizing things and running things. So, summary of my Eagle Scout project is it is the detailed planning and installation of solar-powered lights in pathways in Wasserman Park. So, some of the details of that are there's going to be 11 different lights along 2 sections in Wasserman Park. I'll show you a map of the sections and where they're actually going to go. The lights are going to be identical to the ones that are already in place at Wasserman Park, and that'll make it kind of look uniform. So there was a project from a scout from my troop, actually, who did some solar-powered lights on another side of the park, and my project is to kind of continue that and add the same thing so it kind of completes the whole circle. So my reasoning for doing my project in Wasserman Park is because I've lived here my entire life. I've used it a lot. I learned how to bike, play baseball, and tennis all in here. I know my troop uses a lot for hiking, orienteering courses, bike rides, that kind of thing. Another reason is Mr. Kasparius, who's the Parks and Rec Director, this was his #1 priority that he wanted for the park to get done. This is kind of really important for him because nighttime has been really busy for the park, and with some of their new things like the dog park in there. So here is a picture of what it's actually going to look like. It's a little bit blurry, but as you can see, there's the light on top with the post, and I'm just going to make 11 different one of these along sections. So I actually have a 3D diagram of what it's going to look like. So it's going to be a 12-foot post, 10 feet are above ground and 2 feet are underground. There's going to be a 2x2 hole, and the post is actually 4 inches wide and 4 inches long. Here's the map that I was talking about of where they're actually going to go in the park. As you can see, in between the community garden and volleyball picnic area, there's going to be 4 lights there, so that kind of connects the 2 parking lots together. The rest of the 7 are going to go down in between the softball field and the tennis courts that stretch down there. And as you see, the couple halls, like the function hall and arts and crafts center, the function hall is used a lot at nighttime, and we kind of need that pathway to be lit up. So, yep, that's what Mr. Kasparius was kind of talking about. So here's some of the tools and supplies I'll need to do this project: a wheelbarrow, level, drill, and safety glasses. So the phases to building my project are, first we'll have to attach the lights to the post, and the town will dig the holes after that a week in advance, so they'll have dig safe done and all the other things that they need to ensure that we're doing this safely. We'll have cement to actually keep the post in the ground, and after a few days we'll come back to make sure the lights are working correctly like we want them to. So here's my budget for this project. It's going to cost $600 for all the lights, and that is most of the money on the project, and that's because we want it to be bright lights for the entire park and to really light up those pathways. The caps on top, the copper caps, are going to cost around $40. That's kind of the uniform thing across Wasserman Park. They have them on all the signs and lights already in place. The concrete is going to cost around $50 to keep the posts in place, and the posts will cost $160, which are the 12 feet by 4 inches by 4 inch posts. There's going to be 11 of those as well. I have an additional $25 just in case we need any extra screws, nails, or any other materials we'll need for the project. I included some money for food for some of the people who come to my project, and so we can feed them. It's kind of a customary thing when we have Eagle Work Days. And we have a rounded 15% contingency for anything extra we might need, just to be prepared. And that's $150. So the total comes around to $1,088.61. So my approvals. I wanted to get my approval with Mr. Kasparius in April, which I did. My troop committee I did in May. I have this in May as well. I did the troop committee on May 2nd. And I was hoping to get my Eagle board done sometime this summer, so I have time later on in the summer to actually fundraise, and then hopefully this fall, before the snow comes down, actually put the lights in the ground. So fundraising for my project. We're going to have bake sales, car wash if need be, and a GoFundMe page as well. To actually put the post in the ground, we'll need about 2 to 3 days in October of this year, or if the snow comes down, then I'll do it next spring in 2019. So time and people for my project. For bake sale, the troop will donate goods. We'll have about 4 kids and 8 hours total for all the bake sales. The car wash, probably around 5 adults, 10 kids, 4 hours total. Work days to put the lights in the ground, we'll probably need 3 days, 4 adults, and 5 kids. That's mostly because we're going to be doing 1 light at a time, and we have a lot of power tools and things that we'll need as well, so we need some adults there. So the value of my project. I know that Merrimack residents use Wasserman Park a lot for the various activities they have there, especially with the dog park in there. That's new, that they have a lot of people there as well. The lights will help if they need to go down to the waterfront area, the tennis courts. The function hall is really busy. A lot of places use that for their activities as well. And that's what I really wanted out of my park. I wanted out of my project. I wanted it to be used by Merrimack, and that's what I'm really going for here. So I'd like to take the time to thank you all for listening to my presentation and providing me with the opportunity to serve my community. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Rohan. It's always nice hearing from Boy Scouts. Does anybody have any questions? Tom?
As I was just
Excuse me
commenting.
for just a minute. I was texted by Pete. There's apparently a storm going through and his phone cut out. So he asked me to make sure everybody knew he went. Yeah, he's went offline.
8:20.
And yes, and it was probably about 5 minutes ago. I just didn't want to interrupt the presentation.
15.
Yep, perfect. Thank you. Tom?
So I was just commenting with the town manager how it's nice to have all these Eagle Scouts in town, because you guys do a ton of great stuff and a ton of projects, so we love it. So please, more the merrier, come to the table. I think that's a great project. I really do. I mean, I spent a lot of time at Wasserman coaching and stuff like that, and you're absolutely right. There is a light that need to be done. So great job, great job.
Bill?
To echo Councilor Thornton, these are the moments that are deliciously redundant.
Yeah.
I think that's the best way to phrase it. We love it when the Boy Scouts come here with different projects to improve the quality of life, and like we've talked about in the past about Wasserman Park. Wasserman Park's one of the crown jewels in our community, and Rohan, I'm very grateful for your initiative and wanting to do this. So thank you very much. My one question is, are you working with DPW, because that stretch of road between the basketball courts and the fields is actually on a downslope? So are you working with DPW to make sure that the holes that are being built for those poles are going to be level, so that when...
Yes, yeah. And under my materials, we have a level 2 to make sure that we're perfectly straight. I know that Mr. Kasparis is making sure, because they did have a water line installed recently, so he's going to have dig safe there to make sure that we don't hit anything and we're okay when we're dig there.
Mr. Gales, thank you very much for being his advisor. It's much appreciated. And to Rohan's dad and your wife, congratulations on raising a really good son. Congratulations. I wish you the best of luck with the project.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Bill. Paul?
Also, there is some ledge there. I was in charge of that project for the water line, so there is some ledge there, and there was some rock, so they had to move it a little bit closer to the road, so just be aware that you might hit ledge, you might have to move them a little bit.
Okay, that's fine.
He's got a contingency. Yeah. Tom?
Being the engineer in me, I just have to ask you a couple of questions. I want to understand that you've actually looked into and decided that 2 feet deep is sufficient with 10 feet above ground. I mean, there's a lot of leverage and momentum there, or moment arm there. I'm just curious about how you think that's going to hold up.
Well, we have had another Eagle Scout do his lights the same way, so he had 2 feet underground as well with 10 feet above ground. And Mr. Kasparis, the Parks and Rec director, he said that would be okay. I mean, I see what you're saying, how that could pose a problem, but those lights have been up there for a year now, and I don't
For 1 year?
Yeah.
Okay. So far they seem solid, is what you're telling me.
They seem okay so far.
Okay.
But
well,
I can look
keep
into
my
it some more.
fingers crossed. What you showed us was where you plan to put lights, but not where these other lights are. Can you tell us
Yes,
where
I
the other
can
lights are?
Go to the map and kind of show you. So as you can see up there, so the other lights kind of span from You see where my first light is? Down, kind of down that path, going down to the function hall, that stretch underneath the trees in there. He has like 9 lights, and then he has a couple above my first light.
Okay, and they're
leading up into
functioning? I mean, they get enough solar
Yes,
to
yeah,
light
they
up
do.
and stay lit for a couple hours after
Mhm.
dusk, or?
Yeah, they definitely do. And
Okay.
we've been there, and we've seen that it works. So
Because one of my concerns is technically our parks are closed from dusk to dawn. And
Yeah.
because of the function hall and because of things like that, we're expanding the use of Wasserman. But the beach is not open at that point, so we're not too concerned about people getting down to the
Mhm.
beach in the dark.
Yes.
But generally speaking, I think what you're doing is great. I just want to understand that
Yeah,
we're
that
going to
makes
get some value and some usefulness out of it. So that's definitely going to help, especially as we continue to expand the function hall use. And I appreciate you doing that. Thank you very much.
no problem.
Thanks, Tom. Eileen?
May I make the suggestion and offer the services of the Public Works Director to take a look at what Councilor Koenig was just talking about relative to the 2 feet and the 12 feet. I'll give you his name and information before you leave, and maybe you can contact him. We have a couple of engineers on staff, and they can just confirm for you that they'll last for the long haul.
Yeah.
Okay?
Okay.
Thank you.
Anything further from the council?
Mr. Chairman, I move that the town council approve the Eagle Scout project at Wasserman Park proposed by Life Scout Rohan Srinivasan from Troop 424, which is a solar-powered lighting project on the park roads at Wasserman Park. This is a continuation of an earlier Eagle Scout project that was done 2 years ago, but which completes the loop on the park roads. With more activities occurring in the function hall in the evenings, these lights are important to help people find their way back to the parking lot, period. And that furthermore, that the chairman be authorized to sign the Boy Scout paperwork necessary to approve the project, and furthermore, that the town manager or her proxy be also authorized to sign anything that is necessary to complete the project paperwork.
Excellent.
Second.
Seconded by Tom Thornton. Is there any further, would you like to speak to your motion?
On behalf of a grateful community, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Anything further? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Roll call, Mr. Ashley, I'm
No,
sorry, no,
Peter
you
left.
dropped, so we can do that. I apologize.
Thank you, though. I was ready to do the roll call when you suggested it, so, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstained. 4-0-0. Ron, thank you so very much, and
Thank you.
I've not signed one of these before, so I'm not sure am I supposed to
I
do this?
have
or-
a sheet of paper.
Oh, you do? It's not in
Yeah.
your, oh, okay, I thought it
No,
was part of your,
it's-
excellent, yes. Whoop. No, I'll do it, if you need it, don't you? I'll just- Eileen, is it okay for me to do this?
Do whatever you want.
Great job. Good luck.
Still stick with the sass.
The only award I ever got was John Philip Sousa Award. It's hanging at the school. That was it.
I kind of like using voice to put music out. That's a good way to go as well.
Not for me, though. All righty.
Since I could never handle an instrument. Oh, this is your voice.
Thank you.
I can't do that. Ron, is that your laptop, or is that ours?
No, that's yours, I
Okay.
believe.
Okay,
So, yeah. you-
perfect.
Oh, okay, great.
All righty. So
Hopefully
next,
that works.
next we're doing on the agenda, Anthony, feel free to move on in.
Get yourself set.
Sure thing.
It was item number 2 at one point. Life Scout Anthony Milani from Troop 272 is proposing to build an information kiosk at the entrance to the Quarry Trail at Wasserman Park, and he's here to make a presentation in that regard.
All right. Well, whenever you guys are ready, I'll start.
Nope, feel
Great.
free.
Thank you for having me here tonight. To everyone, good evening. My name is Anthony Milani. I am from Boy Scout Troop 272 of Nashua, New Hampshire, and I am a fellow Life Scout looking to go and advance forward to my Eagle Scout. My proposed project here today is a kiosk at the Quarry Trail of Wasserman Park, and this idea was suggested by Matt Caron of, he works closely with Matt Kasparius of the Parks and Rec.
Matt's on the
board.
Conservation Commission.
Yes, yes.
And
I couldn't.
And he's an avid mountain biker as well.
Yes,
Him and-
that's
him and the staff
actually
boys.
a little bit of background here. So, Matt and my father are both on the NEMBA Association, the New England Mountain Bike Association,
Okay.
and they do trail work for some trails in Merrimack and all over New Hampshire. And I've been doing some of that trail work to get service hours for previous requirements for Boy Scouts. And I contacted Matt, and he came forward with the idea of doing this kiosk, and I thought it was a great idea, and I would go forward on it. So that's where I'm here today, and that's what I'll be starting with. So the summary is just a simple. Oh, actually, might as well put this in presentation mode. There we go. Yeah, all right. So the summary of the project is I'm looking to build a kiosk at Wasserman Park's resident parking lot area near the Quarry Trail. The kiosk will hold general map information to the trails and to the public, so it'll be good as they will now have, map knowledge of where the trails go and where they can go for certain hiking or other recreational activities, and it will help give them a little bit of more information. The Conservation Committee of Merrimack will benefit from use of this project. The Parks of Rec of Merrimack will also be benefited as the kiosk will be on their land, and the general public or anyone who uses the trails will have a station with more information and a nice new structure to look at while they in the parking lot. While they're in the parking lot, and they can see it, and it's all pretty. So these are some pictures of model kiosks from Veterans Park that Matt Kasparius told me to take a look at. Very good design. They got hinges and a clasp, so you got a little bit of a display case with some plexiglass, and hoping to make something similar to this. But I also fused, I know I don't have pictures of it up here, but I fused the kiosk idea here with a kiosk at Horse Hill, if you know where that is in Merrimack. Yeah, I fused it with that kiosk idea and kind of took the two, and I made a drawing of it, which will come up later. But where it's going to go, we're going to, where those logs are in the picture right there, we're probably going to move them around. And the kiosk will be built at my house, and then we're going to ship it over to Wasserman Park, and the Conservation Committee, the Park and Rec, have volunteered to give us an auger that they can drill into the ground with, so they can put holes and we could put the kiosk in. So, yeah, the drawing of the design, this was done by and help with my grandfather, who has been working in construction for many years, as well as my father, and we finalized some plans, finalized the designs of both the kiosks from Wasserman Park and Horse Hill, and this is our final design. It'll be used with pressure-treated lumber, a shingled roof, 8 feet tall, 4.3 feet wide, 2 feet into the ground at least. The corkboard with plexiglass display for all the trail information. Lock and hinges on the back for the display case, and it'll display trail and map info and signs. This is all the materials that I need to buy for the project. So we have all the different types of lumber I'll be needing, hinges, glass, plexiglass, all those sorts of things. And yeah, contingency, and the total with the added contingency of 15% would be $673.68. And yeah, for for my fundraising plan, I plan to do a bake sale at a public location, and also I will be asking, because my cousin, a few years back when he received his Eagle Scout, he personally asked members of the family to willingly give donations for the Eagle Project, and some of them agreed. So I will personally be taking ideas from that and, you know, doing the same thing.
He is your first phone call, right?
Yeah. But, yeah, I'll also be doing a bake sale. Mac Asperius did give me some locations and some times for public locations, I believe, in either Wasserman Park or somewhere in Merrimack that I can do those bake sales at. But hopefully I can get sufficient funds from these methods, and if not, I can pay the rest off if necessary. The schedule, this is approximate. March 2018, I got the approval of the Parks and Rec at their meeting. April, I was hoping to get the approval of the troop committee. That is very close on the way. I had to make some very small changes to my Eagle Scout proposal, but it will be done soon. Here, May 2018, I am here to get the approval of the Merrimack Town Council, which is you guys, and also hoping for this month, maybe towards the end of the month, when all the other approvals are gained, I will go forth to the Eagle Board and ask for their approval with my completed Eagle Scout proposal, and maybe even this presentation for aid. June, July, about this year, I will hopefully start fundraising for the materials and everything I'm going to need. August 2018, I hope to start cutting lumber and getting all the parts of the kiosk ready. September 2018, we'll hopefully be doing assembly on site at my house and painting the kiosk as necessary. And October, the hopeful final dedication ceremony, and I will also be hopefully presenting my final paperwork to the Eagle Board around that time. And that's the end of the slideshow. If there are any questions at this time, feel free to ask away, and I can answer to the best of my ability.
Thank you, Anthony.
Yeah.
Very nice presentation. Tom?
So just as I told the other young gentleman, I think it's great that you guys are doing this in the Eagle Scouts. I guess I wish there was so much more.
Anytime. I love the land here in Merrimack. I know I personally don't live here, but I live very close to here. I've gone hiking in Horse Hill many times in my life. Done it for Boy Scouts or not. I've done the trail days here. You guys got some great land. I like it.
We appreciate it. Thank you.
You're welcome.
But great job. Good presentation, too.
Thank you, sir.
I'm no longer a town council, I'm a you guy. I'm a you guy. I like it. Now, Anthony, 272 is affiliated with, who are you?
St. Joe's Church in Nashua.
Good for you.
Yes.
Good for you. Great parish. Great
Yeah.
parish.
Really,
So-
really great church.
I'll use my word again, deliciously redundant. This is the stuff that I love.
Yeah.
This is a great project, and I run Quarry Trail to access Horse Hill, and I think that's going to be a wonderful amenity to kind of complement some of the other kiosks that we have.
Yes.
And some of the other crown jewels here in Merrimack. So, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate this. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Bill. Tom?
And I appreciate your comment that it's going to be at least 2 feet deep.
Yes.
This
At
one,
least.
even more importantly, because it's more of a sail. If you think of wind conditions or weather, rain, snow, and
Yes.
things like that, you're going to have a lot more lateral pressure on your board there than he is on his pipe, his
Yeah.
poles, which are only 4 inches wide, and yours is 3 or 4 feet wide. So definitely do be careful to make sure that thing's going to stay
Yeah.
up in the wind. We appreciate it.
Yeah, we will be cementing the structure into the ground for added support.
Yeah, but our frost line is, 2 feet is oftentimes not enough in this area. You just have to be careful for what's going to happen
All right.
with frost and heaving and stuff like that. But it looks very good. It looks very impressive. Both of you made great presentations. You sound very much well prepared.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
So I'm really excited about the quality of the projects and the programs that you both are working on. Thank you.
Yes.
Definitely appreciate it. Is there anybody's mind?
Yeah, one last question. Where'd you go to school?
Nashua North.
Nashua North. And what year are you there?
I'm a sophomore.
Good for you.
Yeah.
Okay. So, Mr. Chairman, I would move that the town council approve the Eagle Scout project at Wasserman Park submitted by Life Scout Anthony Milani from Troop 272, who is proposing to build an informational kiosk at the entrance to Quarry Park, to the quarry trail at Wasserman Park, which will be used as a central location for posting trail information by the Conservation Commission on their network of trails in Wasserman Park. And that furthermore, that the chairman be authorized to be signed the Boy Scout paperwork necessary of approval, and that the town manager or proxy also be authorized to sign any paperwork necessary to complete the scouting paperwork.
Excellent. Thank you, Bill. There's a
I'll
motion
second.
by Bill, seconded by Tom Thornton. Would you like to speak to your motion, Bill?
Very simply put, on behalf of a grateful community, we thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Bill. All right, no further discussion. I'll call the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, abstain. 4-0-0. Thank you very much, Anthony. We absolutely appreciate it. And if you have anything tonight that should be signed, otherwise you can get it back down. to
I
town.
don't believe there's any necessary paperwork, at least not that I was informed of that I need, but
Okay.
I did need the approval, so now I have it.
Okay. If you find that you need paperwork signed, you can stop right on down to Town Hall or
Sure.
mail it or email
Sure
it
thing.
or how,
Yeah.
whatever's easiest.
Okay.
All righty.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very, very
Thank
much.
you all. Thank you all for your time.
Oh, absolutely.
Get this. Did I drive my? No, I don't have my license yet. Yeah, I know. I'm hoping to get that, later this year. I'm doing driver's ed in October, so yeah.
Excellent. Chevy used to say,
Project, Anthony.
it's not you.
Thank you, Rohan. It's a pleasure to meet you.
You too.
Very nice.
Good luck.
Thank you. You too.
You'll be seeing each other, I'm sure.
And you
Yes.
might want to do a signature sheet. It's at the
Yeah.
end of the workbook. I think you'll have one for your troop committee.
They never informed me of it, but I'll have to check in on that. All
I'll
right.
check with some of your leaders.
Thank you for that information. All right. Thank you all.
No, thank you, guys. Take care now.
Have a great night.
It's always impressive to me. Oh, my gosh. We're going to get back up in order and have Eileen make her town manager's report.
I just have one thing. I believe this is already said before, but I'm going to repeat it. The Public Works Department hosted a very successful open house on Saturday. Hundreds of people attended throughout the day and were treated to many activities, including the Touch a Truck event and a compost giveaway, which I thought that was kind of funny. I made them move the compost away from the water they were giving away because it didn't look that appealing to me anyway. But the Public Works Department is very thankful to everyone for helping us fill the backhoe bucket with non-perishable food items that will go to support a local food pantry. It was a very nice event, and it's really nice to see the little kids coming out with their parents and really enjoying the event.
I had my grandsons there, and
I saw
thought they were
them.
going to drive that equipment away. They're kind of wild. But
I saw them.
yeah,
You're not supposed to mention that.
don't talk about that.
And
Right.
he was also carrying a suit jacket, I might add.
Yeah, it was a sports coat. Come on, don't make it too much. All right. There's no consent agenda, and next on the agenda, if Tim Tenhave were only a Boy Scout, he would have been done by now. But the council is to consider and possibly approve a process by which Chapter 111, the Conservation Commission areas of the Merrimack Town Code may be revised. Good evening, Tim. He's here to offer this up. Thanks for your patience.
Yeah, no problem. So those will be great additions to our town when they get done.
Gosh, it's so amazing to me.
Yeah, and we've been looking forward to put a kiosk there for a long time, and it'll be
Yeah.
nice to see it get done.
Perfect.
So we have a map ready for it and everything. So, yeah. So at our last visit, I explained the project and what it was about, and we had decided that I would meet with town manager and her staff to make sure that everyone was in sync on the project and understood all the details and were prepared to help out to move this thing forward. And I think we had a very productive meeting, and I believe you got positive feedback from your staff. I won't speak for you, but I think we're in sync together on this. I don't think we proposed any changes to the project plan as proposed, and really we're looking for you to give your approval to the process, because you'll be participants as well. There's a few steps where you'll need to weigh in and provide some guidance, as well as at the very end to do the formal process of doing a code change. So.
Excellent. Eileen?
What I found that was very interesting when you came before the department heads, everyone seemed really excited about the whole concept of it, because I think each department has been approached about a particular parcel, or people wanted more information on it, or it might be abutting their property and they might want to buy it. So I think they understand the value of what it is that we collaboratively are going to accomplish. And again, so it was so surprising that even the library had things.
Yes,
they
absolutely.
they love to research, so they
Yeah.
were willing to they were very excited about getting into it too. And I never, you wouldn't think so, but
Yeah.
but I thought that it was really great. I think it's a great project, and I know that it will help me and a lot of the departments when somebody comes in and says, that piece of property you own, can I buy it, or can I do this or that? And we find out later that it's a lot more complicated than we ever thought. There are easements, there are utility lines, there are all kinds of things, and we ran into that fairly recently a couple of times. So once we have all that information, it'll be very valuable to the town. So I appreciate what you're doing.
What is the pleasure of the council? So, in your discussions, there were no changes or adjustments that we wanted to make. We're looking to approve it as presented last time. Is that right?
Yeah, the plan. So we're not talking about Chapter 111, but we're just talking about the plan on how to look at the properties.
Okay.
That will come later.
And just for my clarification, 4 phases, and it's going to be 12 to 15 months?
It'll take a while, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, follow-up, Mr. Chairman? A lot of the deed work, outside of going to the Registry of Deeds in Nashua, we do have the ability to access online, so that you can actually do the work when the research work can be done conveniently from your house online. I think there's a fee. I'm not going to lie to you. I think, no? I tried to log it on, and they told me I had to come up with a fee, so.
You might need a fee, but I'm sure that we must have some kind of subscription or something within the assessing office, or.
Okay.
Yeah. Community development as well. They have direct access.
They do, perfect.
Yeah.
Okay. So, I mean, most of the documents there, you got a booking page, you can pop that right in the system. There may be some of the things where we don't have a booking page, I think, is where you're gonna, run into some getting into the weeds kind of thing to figure out.
And
that detail.
the library actually offered to do some of that research for us.
Wow.
They were very eager to utilize their team to do something a little different.
Good.
They say research is their business. So,
That's awesome.
Yeah.
As a recovering title examiner who made a living doing title research, I shouldn't say recovering, but I loved it.
Yeah.
I absolutely love doing that kind of thing. So I'm really kind of envious with you and the library staff, because it's interesting work, it's historical work, but really appreciative that you're going to do that piece so that we can be able to have the ability to codify it. So, thank you.
Thanks, Bill.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Paul? You're welcome.
And as the town clerk told us at the meeting, she should have every one of those deeds that you're looking for.
Right.
So we should have a paper copy of every deed, and if we don't, we will.
Yeah.
We'll
But
go
we should
find
have-
one, 'cause we need
We
it.
actually have, I did some research on a piece of property with the tax collector, and there are drawers full of just deed after deed after deed. So she has a lot of that information as well.
Cool.
Very good. What is the pleasure of the council?
Mr. Chairman, I approve that the town council approve the process by which Chapter 111 conservation areas of the Merrimack Town Code may be revised.
Second.
As presented by
As
Tim
presented
Tenay.
by Tim Tenay. Thank you, Tom.
Motion by Bill Boyd, seconded by Tom Thornton. Bill, would you like to speak to your motion? Or you also?
It speaks for itself,
Thank
Mr.
you, sir.
Chairman.
No other comments or questions? I'll call the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Abstained. 4-0-0.
Tim, you're the last one here.
Great, thank you very much. So, yeah.
Appreciate it.
Thanks, Tim.
All right, next item on the agenda, under old business item number 2, the committee assignments tabled from the April 26th meeting. And what,
We have to table that
I
again.
move to table again.
Yeah.
very good, is that tabling motion by Tom Thornton, all those, to August
remove.
24th?
May 24th?
I'm sorry.
Sure, we can do it August 24th.
Fast Bill in March.
I did. Oh, my word.
I'm always partial to March 24th. I mean, I don't see
I
what
don't know
the
where I
problem
got
is.
August, though. That's what's killing me. But anyhow,
Yeah.
till May
May
24th. And a table motion by Tom Thornton to a date certain of May 24th.
Yeah.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, 4-0-0. Thank you. All right, now we're back up to where we belong under new business, item number 4, short-term disability insurance for non-union employees. The council is to consider the approval of the recommended change to the personnel policy manual, maximum short-term disability weekly benefit amount from $700 to $2,000. Paul? Eileen? Please don't use the acronym. Never mind. Yep.
What this is we, it has come to our attention that the short-term disability insurance amount is $700 per week, up to $700 per week. And over, I believe it's 27 out of 44 of the non-union employees make over $1,000 a week, which would be 70% of the 700. Well, whatever. Sorry.
I get the point.
But so in almost all cases, the employee has to not only cut into their vacation time, but also into their sick time, but also into their vacation time whenever they're out on short-term disability. This amount has not been changed for many years. It's been the same for 12 years. So if somebody is genuinely out for short-term disability where everything has been followed with their doctor and that kind of thing, those people who make less than $700 per week are fully compensated at 70%, but the rest of the people are not, and they have to take their own vacation time and things like that. So we're asking, during the budget process, we talked about this just a little bit because there were basically two things combined. One was an increase in the short-term disability amount, the one that we have, this $700 plan. And then the other one was to expand the benefits so that it would apply to everyone. So it wouldn't, so for instance, if you made, so it's 70% of base wages up to $2,000 per week. So if you made over that, then you'd be in the same position to an extent. So the cost, which is included in the budget, is $9,000 for this enhancement of this this amount of this program. So so anyway, I just wanted to make sure that I brought it to you because there seemed to be some questions and some thoughts that people wanted to talk about, and I didn't want to go ahead and sign something without you understanding fully what it was that we were trying to do.
Thank you, Eileen.
You know,
Bill?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'll throw you to Eileen. What are we paying in total in the aggregate for premiums for STD?
please say short-term disability.
Short-term disability.
I already gave that heads up.
Paul's going to get that.
Second question is, within the last year or two, do you know how many employees have used the short-term disability or have applied and received short-term disability?
I actually don't.
Okay.
I don't believe that there have been a lot in the non-union.
Okay.
We have quite a few in the police and the fire and DPW for various reasons. Sometimes unrelated to this, you've got workers' comp and you have other kinds of reasons why people are out. But
I know Chief Courier had been here previously and had testified that he had some members of his department that were out on short-term disability because of work-related, because of stuff that has occurred in the workplace. I was just curious.
If it occurs at work, as Sharon reminded me today, it's workers' comp,
Workers'
so
comp,
it's
I know
different. But there are people who may have, gotten their back injured, for instance, on the job, and later on, it comes back to visit them
Yep.
at home or during something that they're doing at home. So that would be an example of a non-workers' comp related injury that kind of relates back to work.
Okay.
So.
Thank you, Eileen.
Thanks, Bill. Are there any other further questions? Tom?
Yeah. Do the union employees have this in their contract with limits, or is there no limit on their short-term disability income?
The unions have some. The highest one is $700 a week, like the one we have. The lowest one is $600 a week. Those are something that need to be negotiated during contract negotiations if they would like more, but the non-union employees don't have representation except for me.
Well, I understand that.
No, but
I get-
theirs are lesser, or this same one.
Oh.
And in their, in the contracts, they can take just the short-term disability payment and not have to use their leave. Whereas in non-union people, we have to use our leave. It's mandated that we use our leave to make up the difference.
In the policy.
In the policy versus some of the unions, they can say, okay, just give me my $600 a week or whatever I'm getting, I'm good. And walk away from it and not use any leave, whereas people who are making over the $1,000 might use up to, instead of 12 hours, they're using up to 28 hours to cover their time being missed in that same, for a week of pay. And to answer the question, I believe there was 2 or 3 people in non-union who have used it over the last year. And they were, one sitting next to me, and 2 others were for other procedures that were scheduled by doctors that couldn't wait. Aggregate is about $9,000 a month we pay in short-term, or we will be paying in short-term disability payments beginning in July. And the additional, as Eileen said, the additional for the non-union is 9,000 for the year.
So you said 9,000 per month?
Per month is what we pay
The
for
payment.
all our short-term disability throughout the town. And then the non-union, to increase the non-union is 9,000 for a year, so it's less than $630 a month more.
So the increase to $2,000, where does that number come from? So I guess there's a couple of questions here. If you had no limit, does that change the cost of the insurance, or is the cost of the insurance based on the salaries of the people that are currently there?
The cost of the insurance is based on 70% of the gross pay for the week. We chose the.
He's saying where does this, do they need a census information in order to determine?
Yeah.
Eileen, you'd like-
Yes.
We can't hear your response, I'm so sorry.
Yeah, so it does matter, the limit, because if it was unlimited, not that we have anybody we have a couple people that are near the $2,000 limit right now at 70% if we did this. We don't have anybody unlimited. We use the 2,000 for expansion, so as you know, people wages increase, that we have some room to grow. When they first did this, I believe Sharon was telling me there was one person that was maxing out at $600 a week. Now we have 2744 maxing out. The 2,000 was used for room for expansion. There. Yep. So the amount of 2,000, in talking to our short-term disability provider, they said that would be a good point where there's enough room for expansion up to the 2,000.
I can imagine the number that you said of one only being above it, because at 700, that's a $52,000 a year salary to max out. And at 2,000, we're talking about $148,000 a year salary, which is a substantial increase. And I guess, you know, I'm just wondering where everything falls and whether the 2,000 is the right number, or whether it should be, in fact, an unlimited number, that whatever our salaries are, that it should be 70%. Do we have a limit on the number of weeks of short-term disability?
26 weeks.
26 weeks.
And then you would kick into long-term disability that the employee pays on their own dime.
If they choose to.
If they choose to.
If they choose to be part of long-term
Right.
disability.
But it's 26 weeks of short-term disability.
And we're paying 100% of that policy?
Yes, we are. We pay 100% of short-term disability.
Okay, thanks. Did you have something you were going to add, Eileen?
The only thing I wanted to say is 52 weeks at $2,000 is $104,000.
Yeah, but it's
2,000
70%.
is 70% of that, so it's $148,000 salary. 2,000 would make 70% of
Okay.
$148,000.
Right. So, I mean, I guess the intention is that we're not, it's been 70% for all this time, and we're not proposing to change the 70%. We're,
Oh, I agree with the 70%
Yeah,
number.
okay.
I'm just trying to figure out where we're reaching to, getting up to 2,000, or whether there even is a sense to have a limit. But if you're telling me that the insurance carrier is going to change how much they charge if you take the limits off. If you're telling me the insurance carrier is going to change their charges if you take the limit off, I mean, right now, we don't have anybody that's up there.
No. It's just something for their actuarials to say, okay, here's the number, and do their projections based on the number. If you have it unlimited, the actuarials get a little nervous with unlimited amounts.
But they're looking at our actual values when they
They
charge
should.
us an annual
Yes.
basis anyway, right? I mean,
Well, they're looking at a bunch of different things to come up with our rate. They're looking at our past practice for the last couple of years. They're looking at future costs.
I mean, I guess where I'm getting at, we
Age.
probably should have lifted the $700 number a long time ago.
Right.
And the question is, if we put a $2,000 cap on there, are we going to be 10 years from now or 15 years from now thinking, boy, that's ridiculous?
We might in 15 or 20.
And that's the better way to go, you're
Yeah.
suggesting?
Yes.
Okay.
Bill?
How many non-union employees would qualify for 70% of the base wage up to, at $2,000 per week?
Oh.
Right, that encompasses all, if I understood your question. You'd have to be making more than that.
Well, that's what I'm getting at.
Yeah, nobody's making more than that.
I understand that.
While my sidekick is using his computer. So why don't you tell me what it is that, are you asking for those people that make, can you just give me the numbers?
I'm trying to understand. We're saying 70% up to $2,000 per week. So as Councilor Koenig alluded to, you're looking at somebody making $148,000. Well, I don't have the benefit of knowing that without having my budget book here in front of me what the employees make. So I'm trying to make a determination. Is 2,000 too much? I mean, can we get a lower premium and provide 70% up to $1,500 per week? I mean, I'm just. If there's not that many employees that make at $2,000, then it almost begs the question, why aren't we looking at a slightly lower short-term disability number? If that makes any sense.
Is there any savings to doing that?
Correct.
I think.
Nothing of any significance, no. Mm-mm. So, I'm sorry.
No.
So if you have, so what you're trying to figure out is how many people would be made whole at $2,000 a week if they were making 70% of it.
Paul said that there were 3 people last year that applied and received short-term disability. He disclosed you. So I'm taking you out of the equation because I know what the town of Merrimack is paying you as our town manager. So I kind of get it. I'm more concerned what were the other 2? Was it within that $1,000 to $2,000 per week threshold? Were they just over $700? I'm trying to just.
One and one. One was over. One actually used his hours, and the other person was under was underneath the $700 threshold. So it was 1 and 1.
Okay.
And there's no difference with cost-wise, whether we're at, like Councilor Koenig said, whether we're at $1,500 or $2,000, it's the same cost per salary. And right now we did $2,000 because that gave us some room in the ceiling to move up to, and it could be 5 years from now.
It could be 20.
It could be 20. It could be 1.
It
could be 1.
Could be. Actually, it probably will be.
You're only talking basically about $2,900 a week to hit the 70% 2,000 max. That is a lot of money.
All right. Has everybody got it?
Mr. Chairman, I move that the town council approve the recommended change to the personnel policy manual maximum short-term disability weekly benefit from $700 to $2,000.
I'll second.
A motion by Council Boyd, second by Tom Thornton. Bill, would you like to further discuss your motion?
Res ipsa loquitur, Mr. Chairman.
Very good. Took 3.5 years of Latin. And I don't remember a thing but agua.
To clarify, res ipsa loquitur is Latin for it speaks for itself.
Very good. If there's no further discussion, I'll call the question. All those signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, abstained, 4-0-0. Thank you, Bill. Thank you, Paul and Eileen.
Paul, Eileen, thank you.
Now, for your entertainment purposes, item number 5 under new business. Council to review the key financial information of the quarter ending March 31st, 2018.
I was just wondering if I could have one of those Eagle Scout candidates come up and do the presentation for me. They were so eloquent and spoke so well.
Oh, gosh, it was embarrassing for me. They're
No,
so good.
And the self-confidence?
Yeah, no, they're awesome.
They did.
My
They
nephew
were.
became an Eagle Scout years ago, and I was impressed with that, and they're all virtually the same. They're all very good, well-organized, going places.
Yeah.
They do, and to be honest with you, my nephew's out in Arizona, and I was talking to him about the process, because, waiting for my screen to come up, because we sit here and listen to the process up here, and the process is the same across the
Oh, yeah.
country. And, which is, it's, you can go from one state to the next, and if he's an Eagle Scout, you know what he went through
Yep.
and did and had to do.
Yeah, sophomore.
Can I just say-
Yeah.
Do they do a lot with public speaking and
yeah.
and that kind of
Yep.
thing?
Yeah, they do.
Confidence building and all that?
All that stuff in there.
Because it's amazing how someone that young, both the young men, so young could be so intelligent and speak so clearly and also be really down to earth and just good speakers, entertaining and all that. So
Did a great job. Always
So my
exciting.
screen is up. I just got to zoom in a little bit, because if I don't zoom in, you guys will never see the numbers. So, as you know, we use several comparisons for financial reporting to see how we're doing in the year, and we choose the largest expenditures that we have besides salaries to see how we're doing. One of the largest expenditures besides salary, there's two: health insurance and our retirement costs. Those are two of basically our largest expenditures outside of salaries. Through March of 18, we're at roughly $1,976,611. That's almost flatlined from the previous year, which was at $1,937,752. In the difference in there is that you got to remember, last year through March we were short 4 firefighters, and then we picked them up this year, meaning that there was vacancies. There was 4
okay.
vacancies in the fire department.
Yeah, okay.
And that those weren't in there. So as I look at this, we're basically flatlined from year to year, and the changes that the council approved in contracts 2 years ago are starting to take effect in our rates and in our premiums, and hopefully we'll see the benefits not in 18-19 but 19-20 when we go to renew again. Speaking of the second largest, New Hampshire Retire.
Oh, Bill.
Oh, yeah, very quickly, have we seen any data, and maybe this isn't part of the comparison, but have we seen any data regarding utilization or people participating in the Smart Saver program? And its impact on the number?
We have seen some utilization. We do not have the impact as of yet. We should start seeing that come through July, August, because most of the groups will definitely be on insurance for 1 full year. Police came on, I believe, July of last year, so we'll have all the town departments come through.
Yep.
Thank you, Paul.
What's very interesting about this is we were one of the, I want to say there were 3 or 4 pilot communities when this first started 2 or 3 years ago. And as you know, people would get $25 for shopping around for this or $50 for that. But the savings, on the other hand, was so significant. So, for instance, if you get an MRI in one place, it could be, you know, $1,000 different from somewhere else, and it's the same MRI. And I would say, especially the police department, they're going to their doctors and they're saying, I'm not having it done here. I don't have to. I can choose to go somewhere else. And I don't think any of us really even knew that. You know, when the doctor ordered an MRI, you thought you were just going downstairs. But, you know, people are picking and choosing, and they realize that they have a choice and they have a say, and they can get a little cash. So I think it's successful. I'm not really sure. that they can, or they have taken the time to quantify the savings at this point. We're just kind of trying to get more people to use it. But we do have statistics on, we don't have available for us tonight, but on how many people have called, how many people have taken advantage of it. So it's interesting, and it has been successful from that point of view, to make people aware.
So looking at New Hampshire retirement, overall the town's up $84,000 from March of 17 to March of 18. In July of 2017, we had an increase in our rates. So to be up $82,000, we're doing quite well. Fire, you'll see fire spiked. Well, like I said, we brought on 4 new firefighters and we filled 4 vacancies. So their retirement number is a little bit higher than last year when they had those vacancies. And then police is running about break even. But the reason why police is running about break even in retirement is because they have a significant number of vacancies, as we heard throughout the budget process, where they have I believe we're looking for 3. Anybody, plug for the police department, anybody who's a certified police officer and wants to come work for the town of Merrimack, they have until, I believe, the 25th of May to put their application in. We're looking for 3, great place to work. And bike and trail, as those kids, those Eagle Scouts have. But we're looking for 3 full-time police officers. So, overtime comparison. This slide gets skewed a little bit because of the fire department, and I only say that because, like I said, last year we were running so many vacancies in the fire department that we were covering those vacancies with overtime. And you'll see this year the overtime for the fire department has come down significantly. Last year at this time they were at $507,000. This year they're at $390,000, so a little over a $117,000 decrease in overtime by filling those 4 positions. Police overtime is up. We know that we granted the police chief the overtime to run the drug task force, not the SIU, which is dealing with the drug issues and things of that sort in town. What I do is I break this out a little bit differently because it's so skewed and it's hard to see all the little nuances between some of the departments. So I take fire out, and the next slide is an overtime comparison of police, communications, highway, and solid waste. Interesting enough, the highway division, even though we had those great storms later on through March, they were basically a little bit less than they were the previous year. Solid waste is a little bit higher, and of course we just discussed police, and then the other 2 are all other departments, which include building and grounds, community development, tax collector, and other departments throughout the town, Parks and Rec. They're seeing a little bit of spike in their overtime, and general government with the IT and some of the issues that we were having with our IT problems spiked our overtime just a little bit. I believe it's very minuscule, I think, for
solid waste or police. That's hardly a cop.
No. I'm not talking that. I'm talking about the general government. We went up $700 in general government overtime, which is a blip, and all other departments went up about $1,500. The police have gone up. They've gone up over $108,000, and solid waste has gone up about almost $9,000 in overtime. So we keep an eye on that to see why those things are happening. But once again, solid waste used to always baffle me, and I never understood why solid waste overtime. Why? They work Tuesday through Saturday. Why is the overtime? Then one day I was up at the transfer station throwing away trash. I'm like, it dawned on me. I looked over. I said, every time they have to bring somebody in from the highway division or solid waste or wastewater division, they're on overtime. Because they already work their 40 hours during the week. They work Monday through Friday. These guys are up there on a Saturday. They're on overtime. So that's kind of why solid waste sometimes goes up. It fluctuates with with who the vacations, when the people take their vacations and the time they have off. They take a day off on a Saturday. They backfill because Saturday is the biggest day. They have to backfill that day with overtime. If they take a day off during the week, they can cover it with the people they already have. But on a weekend, they do have to cover it. And the other thing is that looking at some of we had some vacancies up there. In our equipment operator, 3 retired. We had some vacancies that we had to cover with overtime. We hired somebody, and they subsequently left, so we had to hire somebody else. So we had to cover some of their overtime with highway guys. Once a year I do our electrical and our natural gas. As you know, we have long-term contracts for both of these components of our budgets, which kind of has a nice fix. What I want to bring to people's attention is that we did a major streetlight upgrade, and we're seeing significant savings in the streetlight upgrade. We have gone down over $119,000 by changing over to LEDs.
And the number you gave us during the budget time was not even close to that.
No,
this
so
is a
we are
great-
starting to see significant savings. People are reporting that their lights are out, so we are going out there and fixing them and things of that sort. But this is a project the council gave us. We know it was a lot of money at the time. We thank you for that, but we are definitely starting to see some of the savings come through. And if you look at solid waste as well, solid waste is down about $15,000. They went to an LED light project on all their lights. So the LEDs definitely are saving this town significant money.
So, Paul, I see Parks and Rec is up. And the only reason I bring that up because you have fields with lights. And you have Martell, you have Vice,
Right.
and that's going to spike tremendously with those old lights too.
Right.
So,
We are looking into the technology. The technology wasn't there 2 years ago. They were getting better with the technology. Matter of fact, the company we use is on the Seacoast. They're a 100% veteran company. All employees have to be a veteran to work at that company. They, last year, I believe, have started projects with field lights to see if they work. They also have interior lights now that are LED capable, and they brought in 4 lights for us to try, and they're down in the DPW director's office. And when you can't even tell the difference between the old, fluorescent lights that you have above your desk versus the LED lights for brightness and things of that sort, and they're half, if not more than 3/4 less in the kilowatt that they use. So we're asking, because we have seen the savings here, we're asking to look into the cost of retrofitting and bringing those lights on in small areas, such as conference rooms and areas where, hallway lights, things of that sort that really are on all the time. Bathrooms, things of that sort. And there is some neat features that you can do where you can lower the lights, or you can put them on dimmers or timers when you're in and out. So if people aren't
so
in
you
and out.
so you kind of surpassed what I asked you about the field lights, though. When you
Yeah.
went on to the conference room.
Yeah, I kind of
So,
did.
I know you kind of just blowing that off a little bit, but I mean, has there been thought about doing that?
Yeah, there has been thought about it, Tom and Councilor Thornton. Like I said, though, we don't know if the technology is there yet. We will definitely find out if the technology is there. I know the ones at Martell are getting long in the tooth.
Right.
And those are the very old ones, and we have significant problems out there. Hopefully we fixed them since last year, but they have it. The other thing, too, is that I think we need to talk to the baseball and talk to the softball guys and asking them not to turn on the lights before 8 o'clock again like we did years ago. I think sometimes I drive by Bicefield or Martell at 7:15 or something, and the lights would be on. It's like, trying to ask them that, after 8, because the rates go down after 8, so to speak.
It's the demand charge.
The demand charge.
I remember when we put the lights down at, that's Bicefield.
Yep.
Yeah.
And the first time they put them on, whomever brought it to our attention had to come back to add onto their budget, like $6,000 for the demand charge.
So.
But, Bill, sorry about that.
Paul, are we going to be looking at buildings and ground, fire, the library or the police department for opportunities to fix the lighting there, to add LED?
We will, the fire department and police department, all exterior lights at those facilities have gone to LED packs on the wall and things of that sort. We're, like I said, they came in and showed us these new lights, so we're going to try to look at it. I do not know, the fire department's a little bit tricky, and I don't know how quick they light up. They're on, the only reason why I know this is because when we did the renovations down at Natticook Fire Department with the sleeping quarters, we had to change some lights around, and they're tied to their alarm, so to speak, that if there's a call and it's for Station 2, all the lights come on in the building to kind of, hey guys, get up. So I don't know how those LEDs work with that system, and that's something we'll have to find out. But we'll definitely look. Like I said, we are seeing significant savings, so we're going to start looking at other LED possibilities throughout town.
Do you remember how much that project costs? I don't recall now. Yeah, the streetlight project?
Yeah.
It was I want to say $88,000, $83,000, but I think we got rebates.
We got a lot of rebates from Eversource at the time to do
Maybe that was net, 80 something.
Yeah, it was net. I think it was over $150,000.
So payback?
Oh, payback is not even a couple of years, maybe 1 year, 1.5 years. Yeah.
The rest is gravy. Yes.
So you said there's already lights that are failing on us? Well, these
They're
were
not-
supposed to be like 25-year
Yeah,
lights.
they're I don't know if they're failing, so to speak, but the vendor's been great. We call him up and say, hey, this light isn't working. He ships us a new light because they're all under warranty. We found out that it's not the light in some cases. It's actually the power going to the light from Eversource. You know, birds get in there and chip at the line enough to cause moisture and stuff to get in there, and they refuse to work because the power isn't strong enough to turn them on. So we have a case over at Meeting House Road where we just put a brand new light in, and it's not lighting up because of a problem with the power coming from the pole to the light.
Does Eversource take care of that? Or
Eversource takes care of that. Eversource takes care of basically everything. Now that they're all installed, Director Fox had a meeting with Eversource to figure out a way now because to get these, because what happens if a light fails, we have to get a replacement light, bring it in, give it to Eversource. Eversource then goes out and fixes it. Eversource owns the arm and the electricity. We just own the head of the light. So if the head's bad, we have to get a new head. Eversource puts in the head of the light for us. They're all under warranty. We've had a couple where one was the sensor above the light was failing that said it was dark 24/7. It was nighttime 24/7. So they just replaced that. The light works fine. So there are some that have failed, but the vendor we call, they're down here within a couple days with a replacement light for us.
Okay, so they are still under warranty?
They are
for
still under
how
warranty.
long? Couple of years, or?
Yeah, I believe so. I believe so.
Okay, good. So there's some infant mortality maybe that we're
Yeah.
going through.
Right. And once again, this company now is doing a lot more lights throughout the state of New Hampshire. So they're ramping up their manufacturing. So it isn't as long a lead time to say, hey, we need a light.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. Natural gas. Looking at the natural gas, you'll see that natural gas is up across the board. The winter, even though it was long winter, it was definitely a cold winter this winter. There were stretches besides that beautiful month of February that the temperatures were nice. We were below average most of the year, and the use of gas was up. The good part is that we are on a long-term contract with gas, so we were on a plus-minus contract. So what that means is that usually gas companies do it one or two ways. They do it capped, so you have to buy 100,000 gallons, 100,000 therms of natural gas. And if you don't use those 100,000 therms in a month, what they do is they try to sell it during the month at X rate. If you go over your 100,000 therms, they sell it, you have to buy it at X rate, and usually it's a much higher rate than you have. Well, what we negotiated is that it's a plus-minus rate. So if I go and say I need 100,000 therms a month. If I use 85,000 therms, they charge me for the 85,000 therms. If I use 140,000 therms, they charge me the same rate for the 140,000 therms. So it's the same rate, a plus and minus, and I don't have to worry about the commodities in the market. Because if we're doing 100 and it's at 85, that 15,000 therms, we're not going to get back what we're paying 62 cents a therm. It's usually selling at like 30, 35 because there's a glut of natural gas in the market. So that's why we went with a plus-minus contract. And that seems to be working out, and it helps stabilize the budget. Revenues, everybody's favorite topic. Just mine, okay. A couple things here. Our revenues for our auto registrations keep growing. We're about $200,000 above last year's pace. We're projecting to hit $5.2 million this year. In the budget for 17-18, we're at 4.9. Next year, we're at 5.2. So we're looking to hit the number that we put in the budget next year.
So, Paul, back on auto registrations, because I know it's cyclical, it just doesn't look very cyclical in this set of years.
Right.
If you plotted back another 10 years or something, if you plotted back another 10 years, it'd be interesting to see where the last peak was and how fast it came down.
Right.
Predict how fast we could lose all this if it cycles back again.
I think we were right around, I want to say 2008, 2009, 2007, 2008 was the curve coming down. As you can see, 2008 came down 9, 10, 11, and then in 11 it started going up, and then it's been climbing ever since. But it was right around that time, right around 2006 to 2008, that we started coming down. Because I can remember that we would, in those years, we were trying to find revenue. Or trying to find appropriations to cover the revenue expense for auto registrations.
But that's a fairly slight dip in what shows here.
Right.
I'm just curious about.
I
if
could
we
go
went
back
another couple of 2 or 3, 4 years to see if there's any more.
Right. I could go back and look at it. I've been surprised at the number of vehicles that do pull in with new plates out there, and we're not talking Hyundais. We're talking BMW.
Not that there's anything wrong with that.
Not that there's anything wrong with Hyundais, but we're looking at BMWs, high-end cars that are coming in. Mercedes, SUVs are still coming off the lots quick, and there's a lot of good deals right now out there for people who are interested in the cars. So I do look at it, and in April, May, and June is really at the end of the year is some of the bigger lease options that come through, and that's one thing we're really seeing a lot of is people are leasing. So it's a 3-year or a 2-year cyclical cycle. We had a gentleman cycle. We had a gentleman trade in 2 Audis for Bentley. Pulled in with his Bentley out there one day, and
who's that person? We still don't know the
I know who owns the Bentley now, but there was a couple.
Bentleys are not that attractive as they used to be.
No, we had a couple residents knocking on.
No, but they used to be beautiful cars.
I had a couple residents knocking on the finance window asking me for my keys.
Can I ask a question while Mr. Chit-chatter? What I would recommend to you, and what this says to me, is that I don't think that we should take big jumps up in our projections for auto registrations anymore. I think that we took some big jumps, and justifiably so, in order to get up to where we are. But I know Paul is saying that in the next 3 months it could, we could see some big leaps and bounds, and that they're good months. But if you take the 9 months and you divide them, you divide that number, that $3 million number, almost $4 million number by 9 and multiply it times 12, meaning to get the monthly rate, it brings you up to just under $5.2 million, which is what we have projected for
That's what I was
next
gonna
year.
ask.
So we're right there.
Yep. So good, yeah, so we're close now.
Yes. It's wild. Took almost 10 years for interest rates to rebound.
I know, look at that. It's just awesome.
And, you know, that's just getting 1.5 to 1.75% interest on our money. There's talk that the feds are going to raise it 3 more times over the next year. I sat through an economic update last Friday, and the gentleman from TD Bank basically said that if we make it to July of 2019, it would be the longest expansion era ever in the United States. And he does not see us stopping before then. So he does believe that the Fed will raise rates at least 3 more times. And he believes one of those rate increases are going to be 50 basis points or 0.5%. So that number could go up. Having the new treasurer, I'll give a kudos to Tom. He is he's looking at it, and we were at a conference, and basically I wanted to call all the banks in the room into a corner and just say, okay, start bidding. Because he's looking at it saying, why am I keeping my money at your bank if this bank's paying me this? Tell me why. Tell me why. And it was funny. We didn't even ask one bank, and they came out and said basically, hey, here you go. We'll give you 2.25%. So, you know, we had to lock the money up for over a year, but we'll give you 2.25%. And we're like looking at it going, okay, well, that's a pretty good deal where we are versus what you're going to jump us to. So
Yeah, it is a massive jump.
but we are, that revenue's coming in, and building permits are high, are growing, and that does not include any of the property in the north end of town at Flatley's yet, for those kind of building permits, or at the Executive Park Place.
Yeah. As we talk about the interest rates going up and get excited about that, just realize that that's probably the thing that's going to turn your car registrations around.
Down, yeah.
And so we'll lose a lot more in car
Yeah,
registrations
yeah,
than we
it's-
gain in interest.
Yeah, it's
We always have to be a little cautious there.
I believe prime now is over 4. So, you know, it's on your home equity lines and I think it's a little bit over 4. So it's definitely a juggling act. And we look at all those things when we try to make our projections and see where we're at. I do want to say we have significant appropriations to make it through the year. We do have a couple of departments that I am looking at closely. And I have meetings with 3. I meet with the police department every 2 to 3 weeks to talk to them about their spending and where they're at. Welfare, Pat Murphy sits in my office, and we talk basically weekly of where we're at and things of that sort, because that's one of those that for housing and things, if we can't put can't spend anymore, but we have to find it someplace. And wastewater, I meet with wastewater now. I'll meet bi-weekly until the end of the year, but we do meet and we do look at it, and I do run projections every 2 weeks to see where we're at. And appropriation-wise, we're fine. Revenue-wise, I believe we'll be fine also. We'll hit our numbers. We'll hit our goal of overall revenue this year.
Very good. Anybody have any questions, for Paul? No? Thank you very much, Paul.
Thank you, Paul.
Thank you.
Okay, next item on the agenda, approval of minutes for April 26, 2018.
Mr. Chairman, I move the town council meeting minutes of Thursday, April 26th with the following changes. Anybody want to second it?
Second.
Thank you.
I always like to hear the changes first, but okay.
Fair enough, Mr. Vice Chairman, fair enough.
Wait a second.
No. He said, no, isn't anybody going to give me a second?
Oh, no, see, I thought he was waiting a second to find what he wanted to tell us.
that's what I thought.
I agree.
I'm sorry. Maybe I misheard.
Page 6, line 39, where it says chairman replaced with counselor.
Oh, no, that's okay.
No, it's-
Chairman Harrington. I missed that one.
On page 7, line 4, same thing, replace chairman with counselor. On page 10,
Line 5 be vice chair?
Yeah,
yes,
we'll get there. Page 10, you said?
oh, that's right, yeah. I'm gonna be Counselor Koenig. Wherever it says Counselor Koenig, replace it with Vice Chair Koenig. On page
You took
10,
away all my color.
sorry.
No, I'm just joking. That's fine.
On page 10, lines 2 and 3, either make it one paragraph or split it to create a new paragraph. It's a formatting piece. Page 13, lines 7 and 8, again, formatting. It should be a new paragraph. Page 13, line 46 and 47, formatting, should be a space. And to really put the exclamation point on things, on page 15, line 32, the sentence reads, "All proceeds provide the opportunity for veterans who have never been, comma, to be driven to the top of Mount Washington, period." If you could slap a comma after the word veterans, that will read more nicely. That's all I had.
So now, Tom, you have nothing, right?
No, I got plenty.
Okay.
Somehow I'm sure there's more, but if we look on page 4, line 5, it talks about in New York that we're provided infiltration systems.
Good
and
catch.
It really should be filtration
Filtration.
systems.
Yep.
Infiltration merely says the water's coming through. Filtration says that things are taken out of the water as it goes through. And in the third, line 7, it's the same thing, had supplied infiltration to the school district. It should be filtration, so take off the IN, infiltration. Then on line, page 6, line 3, maybe I just misunderstand, but it says, if the fines from the sand blew onto the skate park. I'm trying to figure out what's meant there.
Director Fox used the technical term, basically
Finds tiny
fines are the tiny particles that blow over. So if the sand, basically if you didn't cover with gravel, with loam and seed, he was afraid that the sand would blow over onto the skate park. Yeah, it's called fines is the technical term, but we could call it.
I think we ought to say something in English, because it doesn't make any sense to me.
Sand. If the sand from
Look at
The
that,
sand
the
blows
sand.
onto the skate park.
if
it
the
would
sand
create
blows
an
onto the
unsafe
skate
condition.
park, you could say that.
That would be fine with me. Not to be making a pun, but. And then, as Councilor Boyd pointed out, there are quite a few places throughout where chairman and councilor maybe aren't correctly used anymore and could be straightened out. If you could do all those for my name and Finley's name and Nancy's name, I would appreciate it. Although, yeah. Let me see if there was anything other than that. Give me a second. Oh, on page 12, line 19, it says, was the one that buried the concrete pins in and brought the trail a little further out. I think it meant bins, B-I-N-S, instead of pins. I'm not sure what a concrete pin being buried was all about. 19 on page 12.
I don't remember.
Yeah, you're right, it is the bin she was talking about.
I thought it was the bin she was talking
She was
about.
talking about the pools, the tanning bins. The
Yeah,
tanning.
filling in those bins
Yeah.
next to the bridge.
Yeah, it was bins.
And being able to support
It was
the
where
cut-
the tanning.
sidewalk.
In the tanning
Tannery,
process, they
okay,
have
yeah.
separate
Yeah.
So that's,
Yep, it was bid.
Back to page 6. I got so excited about the fines of the sand. On line 6, it says, Mr. Chevenel was happy to help. I'm not sure what he happily helped. Maybe that whole sentence could just be removed. I mean, you did contact the assistant superintendent and explain the concerns. I'm not sure that he did anything to help. He was just agreeable, or?
What line is it?
Line 6.
I think Kyle was alluding to a conversation he had had with Matt, basically saying, you know, we explained the concerns, and yeah, he'd be happy to help us, kind of thing. That's how.
But he didn't.
He wasn't
do
here.
anything. He didn't provide any funding. He didn't
No, but
do
he
any of the work.
he wasn't here, so I agree.
So we could just say that he agreed or something like that with the plan.
Yeah.
That's all I had. Thank you.
Anything further, Tom?
All right. I only found a few of
Your
them, but
turn.
I'm going to do this. Line 5, let's see, page 5, line 17, the PWDs. I think they're supposed to be DPW.
Nope.
Nope. It's supposed to be
Nope.
Public
Technically,
Works.
it's the Public Works Department, like the police department
I don't
and
like
the
it
fire
either.
department.
I don't.
And I noticed their Facebook
No,
page.
it's a department, and it's the
Well, then I
Public Works
think,
Department.
then I think we should do it throughout everything that we talk about.
We
Well, we
should.
do.
And not
That's-
DPW, it should be PWD then.
It should, yes.
Well, it's now the,
It's not the DPW department.
no, it's the fire rescue department, it's the police department. That's why they went to Public Works Department. That was the law.
So we don't call it DPW anymore?
Well, we do,
I
but not
do,
officially.
but yeah, I do. It was-
Oh, I do too. So in the minutes moving forward,
Well,
it's going to be, DPW is going to be referred to as PWD in the minutes.
right.
Well, yeah, well, I mean, that's who they are.
That's,
You can change that if you want to go through the effort.
then I got no changes.
I don't disagree with you.
We've been through that argument before.
That was a 45-minute argument.
Yes. All right. Are the minutes, everybody's all set with the minutes?
Yes, sir.
On a motion by Councilor Boyd and a second
By me.
Tom Koenig. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, 4-0-0. Comments from the press, comments from the public, comments from the council. Councilor Boyd.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'll be very quick. I'm not looking to make a political statement, just more of an observation. This council's been very lucky that we've had Eagle Scout project presentations that have been presented to me during my 7 years on this council, and I'm sure much longer than that throughout the years. Obviously, as everybody's aware, Boy Scouts is going through a name change to be more inclusive, but one of the things that I was thinking about is we've never really had Girl Scouts before this body, and I want to let the community know and the people that are active with the Girl Scouts that, you know, if there's something that the Girl Scouts want to bring to the town council's attention, whether it be through a project that they're undergoing or somebody who, like Patricia Murphy's daughter, won the Gold Award. I think those are the types of things that the council needs to be aware of, so that the young women in our community can be appropriately recognized for the work that they are doing as well. So I just wanted to amplify that while we're very happy having Boy Scouts here, I also want to encourage the men and women who are active with the Girl Scouts in Merrimack that if there's something that you want to bring to our attention to present to the community, please reach out to the town manager's office, and I'm sure our staff and Eileen would be loved to figure out a way to get the Girl Scouts onto the council agenda. So, thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Bill. Anything further from the council? See nothing.
Motion to adjourn.
Motion
Second.
by Councilor Boyd, second by Councilor Thornton. Further discussion on your motion?
Yeah,
Oh.
Mr. Chairman, could I?
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, abstained, 4-0-0. Thank you very much.